morning, ServiceNow. Welcome to the 2023 State of ServiceNow Summit. I am your host, CEO and co-founder of Forest Company, Nate Netti. We have a killer lineup for you today, and you are going to learn so much about the ecosystem, about partners, about users, and about the ways that you can make the absolute most out of everything that you are doing with ServiceNow. We got a jam-packed lineup of experts from across the ecosystem that are going to give you the knowledge, information, and empowerment you need to grow your partner business, to expand and enhance the solutions that you have inside of your organization if you're a user. It's just going to be a really great day. So first up, in just a few minutes, myself and my business partner, Brandon Triola, we are going to go through the 2023 State of ServiceNow User Report. We're going to pull out all the insights that we think are real valuable and relevant. We're going to share them with you. We're going to highlight some key things that we think you need to know to make the most out of what you're doing right now. The second session we have today is with Michael Nordstrom. He is the Director of Partner Marketing for the Americas at ServiceNow. And he's going to talk to us about 5 ways that partners can remain relevant in the Now ecosystem. It's going to be an amazing session if you are a partner, and even if you are a user. It's going to be a lot of great thinking about how to make the absolute most out of marketing. Right after that, on the heels of Michael Nordstrom, we have another couple ServiceNow folks that we're going to be talking to, and that's Tricia, Halbert, and Jim Taylor. They work on the partner enablement side of ServiceNow, and they focus on the RISEUP initiative. And that is an initiative that is focused on skilling 1 million workers inside of the ServiceNow ecosystem. And it's going to be an incredible session where you can learn how to make the most of RISEUP as a partner or RISEUP as a user, and get the people involved in ServiceNow at your business up and running with the skills they need to make the most out of the ecosystem. After that, we have Matt Stoyka, the CEO of an incredible ServiceNow partner, New Rocket. He's going to talk to us about the age of verticalization and how to deliver industry-specific solutions that users need. If you are a partner and you're trying to figure out how do we focus on a vertical, this session is going to be amazing. Matt is full of incredible wisdom and insight around how to do this, how to manage the change of business model shifts. It's going to be a great session. After that, we have Ben Person. He is the CEO of Tenon. It is a marketing technology built on ServiceNow. And his session will be on expanding the global enterprise with a unified marketing solution built on ServiceNow. And so whether you are a partner or a user, he's going to help us understand how to break down the silos between departments and how to make the most of everybody collectively working on ServiceNow together within the organization. No more silos. That's his thing. After that, we have Natalie Tollefson from Optimum Healthcare IT. 3 keys to helping users prove ROI and become platform champions. One of the biggest things we heard this year was that proving ROI is absolutely essential to expanding the platform inside of businesses. And she's going to help, whether you're a partner or a user, she's going to help you understand how to demonstrate ROI to your leaders or to users when you're talking about how to implement or grow or expand ServiceNow. And then our last session of the day is going to be Kadir Özbayram, Senior Partner at Inspy. He's going to talk to us about how to align solutions with user needs and build customer trust. Whether you're implementing solutions, building apps, trying to bring ServiceNow into your organization, it's going to be built on trust. Your momentum and your success is going to be built on trust. It's a session that you're not going to want to miss. After that, I'll close us down and we'll wrap up the 2023 State of ServiceNow Summit. So thank you again for joining us today. We are so glad that you're here. Feel free to attend as many sessions as you want. Pop in and out throughout the day. Share the link with people in your organization. It's going to be a great day. Thanks. Hey everybody, welcome to the 2023 State of ServiceNow Summit. You made it. You're here.
You're here.
I'm here. You're here.
We made it.
We are thankful that you're here. We'll give just a few minutes for people to kind of roll in. You guys know how these things are. Webinars, summits. It always takes people just a little bit, and they miss some key information off the top.
And somebody's probably getting some actual work done right now and watching this on the side. Make sure if you're doing that, you put it on mute so the whole office isn't listening. Yeah. And we are going to have recordings of this afterwards,
Maybe
right?
They should unmute.
Maybe unmute it.
So
Blast
that the whole
it.
office is listening. If you're in a ServiceNow partner, or if you use ServiceNow as a user inside of an organization, maybe your department should hear this, because today
maybe crank it.
We have a packed day full of value. Like I said in the intro, it is going to be awesome. But this session specifically, this is sort of the genesis of the whole event, is our State of ServiceNow Report for 2023. And just a quick flyover about what we're going to do in the next 20 minutes. We're going to take you through all of the insights that our team gathered throughout the last year about the ServiceNow ecosystem. And a lot of this data was gathered human to human. We actually went out to events talking to ServiceNow users, talking to ServiceNow partners about what the heck is going on in the space. And I think, if I do say so myself, where this report stands out is it has a real human element to it. That's the red thread. And a lot of industry reports that I come across, they're great. The data is great. And the application of the data that you can take home is great. But I do often feel like people forget about the human side of the thing that they're learning about. And so
totally, this
report is focused on insights around transforming the world of work through ServiceNow. Anything else to add before we jump?
Well, I know a lot of people probably have questions. They're probably sitting at their desk, or maybe they're working from home today, and they're going, who are these two guys? Are they ServiceNow partners? Are we users of the platform? Who are these guys that are helping us walk through this? Can you give a little interview, or not an interview, but an introduction about you and I and our team and why we put this report together?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So Brandon and I started Forest Company 3 years ago, and we are an enterprise-focused growth agency for technology partners. So if you are an enterprise tech, you're in a partner ecosystem, we focus on leveraging branding, marketing, advisory, and consulting on growth to help you grow your businesses. That's how we started. And so we are a fully remote team. We're about 20 of us all over the country. And this is what we do. And we want to be incredible advisors, coaches, and deliver incredible work to our clients. And so what better way to do that than collect our own data on this ecosystem? And it's been super informative for us, but we thought, let's just share it with the world. Let's just put it out there for free, so let people have it. And that's what we're doing. That's what this is. Anything else to add?
Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah, we are a small team, like Nate said. A couple of years ago, we got into the ServiceNow space, and I still feel like we're babies, right? Like many of you feel. We're learning about this thing every day that's growing, and it's evolving, and it's transforming as it's helping the world transform really fast. A few years ago, we started working with ServiceNow partners, and we realized there was a big gap between partners and how they wanted to meet users and what users really needed. And so we realized the best way that we could help everybody in the ecosystem is just find out what did the people behind the world's most powerful platform really want. So one of the things that we do every year is we go to Knowledge, ServiceNow's flagship event, and we do this survey where we just walk the floor. We ask 200 to 300 people, human to human, a series of questions that pulls out the data from this report that we're going to go through. So it's very comprehensive. It's very much packed with insights along with the data. And we, again, our goal is just to equip this ecosystem to keep growing and to keep helping the world of work smarter. That's a mouthful to say.
Yep. That was great. I just skipped ahead while you were talking because you were talking about what kind of information and who we talk to out in the field. And so what you see on the screen here is just a quick snapshot. You guys, we got a whole cross-section of the industry. You can see the companies there, companies like Adobe and Carhartt and Discover and Nike and Shell, some of the world's largest companies. We were able to talk to ServiceNow users from those companies. We also talked to pretty much, almost every partner that's in the, at Knowledge at least. We pretty much had a conversation with them to some extent and got some insights from them as well. And so you can see we drank a ton of coffee. We walked, I think that number's low, 100 miles. That's probably per person. If you've ever been to the Venetian in Las Vegas, all you do is walk. Your dogs are barking at the end of the day.
It's a lot, but it's so worth it. And we got to talk to basically not just these companies and these brands and these job titles. We got to talk to some amazing human beings behind this platform. We got to talk with some really cool humans that work inside colleges, universities, medical centers that are using this platform to really do some amazing things and empower people. And that was really, really exciting to be able to not just talk to them, but ask them, hey, how can partners, how can other people, how can ServiceNow themselves meet you guys where you're at?
Yep. So with that, we're going to get into the report. And what we're going to do, we're not going to hit everything inside the report because it's dense.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. There's a lot of information. That was our goal, to empower the ecosystem with this data. But we do want to share some key findings, I think, that will both set you up for the rest of the day and also be some really strong takeaways that you can take back to your team even today, and some really actionable things. So the first thing that I wanted to touch on that I felt like was really important. There we go. Clicker wasn't working. Got it. First thing I wanted to touch on. So we asked users about investment in the platform. And this is probably one of the most cornerstone marquee statistics that we get every year. And this year it was no different. So what we found is that 3 in 4 ServiceNow users plan to increase their investment in the platform. So think about that for a second. In this economy that's relatively uncertain,
Sure.
Uncertainty can kind of vary, but by and large, people call it an uncertain economy.
Well, we've had some of the most massive brands in the world, tech brands, laying off people in droves for the last year. It's been, for a lot of people, it's been downright scary. But according to the data, it hasn't really been the same in the IT space, specifically in ServiceNow.
Yep, hasn't been the same at all, actually. And to the tune of 75% of users planning to increase investment in the platform. That's crazy. And when you look at significantly increase, it was almost 30%. So that's a crazy stat on its own. And then I think actually the most powerful stat to pull out of this section right here is, you see those little 0.7s? Those are each a version of slightly decrease or decrease. So what you have, or significantly decrease or slightly decrease. So what that says right there is 1.4% of the users that we surveyed signaled any decrease in spending at all, which is amazing. If you're a partner out there, you're thinking about this, there's marked opportunity for me to step in, and users are looking for partners to help them make the most out of their investment in the platform. And then the second stat on the side here, I think it's worth sharing. No surprise here, but when we asked users where they plan to focus their increased investment, IT workflows was the top priority at 57%. So no shocker there. But I do think what's interesting is that employee workflows and customer workflows weren't far behind. The key stat here is creator workflows was at 2%. I still think that's a new baby inside the ecosystem. A lot of momentum to grow. If you're a partner out there, it seems like users are a little bit wary of investing in that. Maybe some education, maybe reaching out and helping them understand the value of creator workflows seems like a really interesting opportunity. And the last thing I wanted to share with you guys on this page is at the bottom there, where if you selected IT workflows as your priority for investment, what section of IT workflows did you plan on investing in? Users could select multiple sections, but ITSM was selected 74% of the time, and ITAM 61% of the time. ITOM at 47%, so it's still up there, and then it kind of trails off from there, but super valuable nonetheless.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool stuff.
Takeaway there is investment is continuing to go up. Bill McDermott was totally right when he said not a chance of reduced IT spend this year. He got on CNBC and kind of told the whole world that. And okay, yeah, that's great. We're seeing it in the users as well. The next slide here, just quickly, we asked what drives user decision making the most when considering a ServiceNow investment. So like, what are they thinking about? They signaled at 82%, and they could select multiple, customer needs and requirements drive their decision making. So if you're, just for an example, to use a company we mentioned in the intro, if you're at Adobe and you're working with ServiceNow and you're thinking about making a further investment inside of ServiceNow, the thing that you're thinking about that's driving how much your investment's going to be and where your investment will be is your internal customer needs and requirements. So just wanted to camp on that because I think it's really important. Sometimes we forget, we think that other things like total cost, which is second there, are the driver, or employee experience or executive leadership initiatives. While those things are important, it seems as though far and away the most important decision-making factor was customer needs and requirement. And then lastly on this page, I think a really key stat that is a marquee takeaway, get out a sticky note, write this down. Users are most focused on enhancing and expanding existing solutions before implementing new workflows. So if you're a partner out there, what you need to realize is while net new is so important, can never forget about that, users are saying they are focused on, to the tune of 50% of them are focused on enhancing and expanding what they already have.
Which means they have a implementation or something they've invested in. They're not getting the most out of it. They're not ready to start the next thing yet. They need help getting the most out of the thing that they have already built or already trying to be built.
Yep. And so if you put the two stats together, they have money to invest, and the money that they're investing is going to making the most of what they've already built. One thing you'll notice in the report, we're not going to touch on each of these specifically, but one thing that you'll notice is we care really strongly about enabling, with coaching and advisory, enabling partners and users to make the most out of the ecosystem long before we ever talk to anybody in person. So you'll see pages like this through the report where we have tips for partners on how to work with users more closely based on what users were saying to us about what they want from partners. We're sort of brokering the discussion here because sometimes, I'm sure you guys have all experienced this, sometimes they don't really communicate directly. Typically, as far as users see it, partners are, making sure that they get a sale, and they do want to help. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes users feel a little bit, as they told us, like they're being sold to too much. Well, at the same time, users are a little tight with, what they're trying to do, and it's hard for partners to really help if they don't know what's going on. So we try to bridge the gap, and you'll see slides like this internally.
It reminds me of the famous quote by Seth Godin. He said, "Don't try to find customers for your products. Make products for your customers." You got to give the people what they want, and you're going to see that on this slide and sort of throughout the whole report. That's sort of the theme. Let's work together to try to give the people inside this ecosystem, the users that are making the world work, what they want.
It's awesome. Speaking of what they want, they want 3 big categories. That's kind of what the data boiled down to. Help with AI and hyper-automation. They want some assurance and keeping employees and customers happy, and then they want to be empowered. That was like the 3 takeaways. But we're going to get into some of the larger sections here. We're going to go quick because we don't have a ton of time, but hopefully you download the report. You can, if you don't have it yet, you can go to stateofservicenow.com, download the report. It's totally free. jump on in and we'll make sure you have it.
The great news is, too, if you have questions along the way, we're going to be interviewing some brilliant people from inside the ecosystem here in a little bit. You're going to have all the information about how to connect with those ServiceNow actual people, as well as some other partners, how to connect with them on LinkedIn, ask them questions, get to know them, and get all the help and guidance that you need.
Yep, a lot of resources for you today.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be really great. First section here, no surprise here. Users are ready to unleash the full potential of AI and focus on the future by taking automation into overdrive. And now there's a lot of data on this slide, but what the key takeaway for you needs to be: key opportunities for digitization. That's what we asked. What is the greatest opportunity for digitization within an industry? It was AI, automation, and self-service. 3 big things there. And then if you look at those other bubbles, those 3, the purple, green, and orange bubble. Good thing I'm not colorblind. I wouldn't be able to read those.
Are you sure they're purple, green, and orange?
I'm questioning my whole existence. Other key opportunities for digitization that users noted were improved operational efficiency, better customer service, and an enhanced employee experience. So these are areas, if you're in AI, these are areas that users signaled that they're looking for help and assistance in. And then the next slide here is just, these are just some specific callouts. We asked, a lot of subjective questions, and this is sort of a roll-up of the summary of the insights of categories that people believe increased automation will have the biggest impact. So if you are a partner out there, basically users are saying in these categories on this slide, they're saying, help me understand automation, AI, hyperautomation, in these spaces. IT asset management, HR ops, compliance and governance, customer-related workflows and self-service, standardizing product and product management. They need help in these areas, which is great. This one I think is very interesting. So we've been in the ServiceNow space for about 5 years. And while not totally true everywhere, I remember a time where customizations were really important. So you had the out-of-the-box solution, and then you had a bunch of customizations built on that to meet very specific needs. Well, users are signaling that they're kind of tired of the out-of-the-box solutions, because with the updates that are coming and the new features, the investments that they're making in the customizations are rendered not useless, but much less effective as a tool than they want them to be, because of all the new things that are coming out and the incompatibility, et cetera, et cetera. So what users have said is, like, we want to go back to off-the-shelf, out-of-the-box solutions. Now, they expect them to be broad and wide throughout the whole ecosystem, but they want something that they can just plug and play and be ready to go, that has a whole suite of features and can be used right away. I thought that was a really interesting thing. The next section here was assurance. In a changing world, users need peace of mind to keep customers and employees happy and fulfilled. This is a key stat here that I think is really powerful. ServiceNow users identified customer experience and requirements as the top motivator driving their investment decision. Now, we touched on that a little bit, but the point that why we put it in here twice is because it's about the humans that are impacted at the user level, at the customer level by this technology.
Starbucks is thinking about the people that buy their coffee.
That's a great example. Yeah. And so they're thinking about this end user as an investment, not just an efficiency play, not just a cost reduction play, but the most driving factor was who is impacted by our technology if I make this purchase, and that's what's driving things for these users. So here, the next slide here is, it basically just overviews that customer expectations are changing. Users want frictionless, cost-effective shopping experiences. So what this is akin to, so you think about the technology that you touch in your normal life. Like, what are some examples of platforms or techs that you use during the day? Like Amazon,
honestly, this is funny. I was in the store with my kids the other day, and I was in Target using their app that they had. realizing there's a whole back-end experience behind all of that, between searching for things on the shelves and finding out where they're at, and then realizing this is probably on ServiceNow, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So users in organizations, this is their daily life, you know, using apps in Target, Amazon, one click, something comes to the door the next day. But you go inside the enterprise and the experience with technology is very different.
Yeah.
Well, this was just users signaling that they now expect their technology experience inside of the enterprise to match what's going on in their day-to-day life, which
Wow.
I thought was a huge takeaway. We're going to skip down to empowerment. There's a couple really, really interesting slides here. You know, kind of like with every technology investment, return on investment is huge. And
that's the ultimate word, right? ROI.
I know that when we run our business, this is a word we talk about often. If we're going to put some funds or resources towards something specific, what's our return going to be? And users are just saying that they need help from partners and others, ServiceNow as well. They need help demonstrating and telling the story of return on investment for these platforms.
It's not enough. We're learning after listening to all of these different users. It's not enough to say this implementation will make you more efficient. They're saying, great, I believe you, but help me tell the people that I report to how much more efficient. How many man hours will we save? Will it be a compliance thing where this will get moved over here and we'll save these dollars this way? They need to see measurable numbers. And the cool thing that I heard at the human-to-human conversation level is they're bought in. They know. They get it. They're saying to partners, help me sell this and help me sell it by helping me show the ROI, which I thought was awesome.
It was awesome. And if you can do this as a partner, it's going to go a long way for users as well. Still going through this really quick because, you know, we have a tight timeline today. But this is an interesting thing. Users need support to increase adoption. And here are some ways we ask users how their organizations are working to increase adoption internally. These are 4 categories of things that came up as common themes among all users: incorporating feedback, proof of success, communication and training, and encouraging self-learning. This is the last bit here in this section. There's a couple more slides, but what's interesting about this is RISEUP. And we have a session today, later today.
I can't wait.
Tricia, Halbert, Jim Taylor from ServiceNow. They kind of run the RISEUP program. Users and partners are seeing all kinds of benefits, as they said to us, with RISEUP. Boosting internal morale, increasing speed to market, building resilience, accelerating their transformation efforts, keeping their finger on the pulse of ServiceNow updates. The benefits to participating in the RISEUP training are super, super high. And users are telling us this. And specifically within system admin roles and implementation roles, users are seeing the most value in the program. And then lastly, in this assurance section, we asked about driving growth and employment. Like, how could ServiceNow do that? We asked users how they could continue the growth. And they said sustainable, industry-specific solutions, verticalizing, and we have a session later today with Matt Stoyka, CEO of New Rocket, on verticalization.
It's going to be awesome.
He'll teach you how to think about verticalizing, how to do the change management internally, how to evaluate business model shifts. It's going to be a great session. Also, users said that ServiceNow can increase employee satisfaction, improve operational efficiency, and create more highly skilled jobs. So one last thing I'm going to share with you guys. We care deeply about enabling partners and helping partners. So this whole last section here is how partners can deliver what users want.
Yep.
We spent a lot of time looking at the data, connecting the dots for partners and saying, do these things. This is where you start. So I'll let you guys go through all of those things specifically, but a few highlights for me. Help users prove ROI. That's a huge one. And one way to do that is to show success stories for...
we actually get a lot of questions about success stories. This has been one of the number one things that partners come to us and say, how do we do success stories? How do we structure them in a way that works and helps users help us sell internally? We've put together a free template for you. There's a couple other free things throughout this whole report that you're going to see. So like Nate said at the beginning, if you haven't gone and downloaded the report, Download the full thing. It's about 36 pages. It's super insightful, and today's all about bringing in those experts to help us add to the value that's here and equip you guys to give the people what they want.
Yep. And the rest of this section is more specific advisory and coaching for partners. So download it. You'll get the whole value. And, lastly, ServiceNow is transforming some of the most impactful organizations on the planet. It's no secret. We're all here because we love the platform. We feel the momentum. It's time for everybody in the ecosystem to take the next step, take the platform to the next level, and we can do it. Lastly, just a little bit about who we are. We said a little bit off the jump, but you'll see mostly me today, Brandon in a session or two.
I'll jump in and out.
But we are a full-service growth agency for global enterprise tech businesses. And so anything from brand strategy, go-to-market, event marketing, event planning, demand and lead gen, a whole suite of creative services, that's what we're doing for enterprise tech partners inside of ServiceNow, inside of other tech ecosystems, SaaS products. This is what we specialize in. So with that, we're gonna wrap up this session. We're gonna kick off a session with Michael Nordstrom.
It's gonna be awesome.
He is the director of partner marketing for the Americas at ServiceNow.
One of the coolest guys that works at ServiceNow by far.
Yep, he's coming up right now. So we'll take a quick break and we'll see you shortly with Michael Nordstrom. Thanks, guys. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the first official session for the 2023 State of ServiceNow Summit. Now, I know you'll probably hear me say this a couple times today, probably every session, but y'all are in for a real treat with this session. Today, we have our friend, Michael Nordstrom, Director of Partner Marketing for the Americas at ServiceNow, talking about 5 ways partners can remain relevant inside the Now ecosystem. And a little descriptor for you. This is what the session is about. As partners seek to win trust among their potential buyers, they can start by listening to what ServiceNow users really want, empathizing with their pains, and telling a better story of how their solutions will help improve the lives of their audience. So a little bit about Mr. Nordstrom here. If you do not have the pleasure of knowing him, this is a man you need to know. From deep south, Montgomery, Texas, been in technology marketing for probably longer than I've been around. Probably forgotten more about marketing technology than I will ever learn. He is a family man first and foremost. He drives an incredible truck. He can tell you about that sometime. And he is an incredible golfer that does not take his game too seriously. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Nordstrom from ServiceNow joining us for the State of ServiceNow Summit.
Thank you, Nate. Well, some of that was completely untrue. I'm not an incredible golfer. I am absolutely from Montgomery, Texas, and I have been in tech probably longer than you've been alive. And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to take that as a compliment or not. I suppose you're only as old as you feel, so I'll assume it's a compliment. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, don't forget the second part of that where I said you've probably forgotten more about tech marketing than I will ever learn. That was the key there, which is true. All right, so ServiceNow, tons of roles internally, support functions, marketing functions, even within marketing at this large company, lots of different ways you can slice marketing. So for the people that are unaware of, partner marketing for the Americas, could you just give us a little overview of you and your role, your team, and what you guys are focused on right now?
Yep. So having been in tech marketing forever and a day, as you just described, when I think about what I've done before to start this explanation, meaning other companies that I've been at that are very channel centric and where we are now at ServiceNow, I describe ServiceNow as a maturing channel model. And what I mean by that is that, we've worked with channel partners pretty much since the company started, but it wasn't until the last, I'll say 5 or 6 years, that we really wanted to have partners do more than just deliver an implementation. We wanted to have them help drive opportunities, co-selling, things like that. And the relevance of that is because that's where my specific role comes in. I was hired just over 6 years ago and was the first partner marketing person here in the Americas. And the task is simple. The objective is simple. The task is not always that simple. That is that my team is here to help partners drive scale and provide them tools, resources, sometimes funding, sometimes it's just information to help them go drive marketing that is going to build their business and practice around ServiceNow, which obviously at the end of the day, as it benefits them, their services, their license sales, then benefits ServiceNow. That's the core. With ServiceNow, as I describe us, in my opinion, as a continuing maturing channel model, a lot of what we also do, honestly, is we help partners connect with other parts of our organization, because while we're partner marketing, we're absolutely not the only team inside ServiceNow that is engaging partners, doing things with them, right? Organizations across the company are engaging partners. Partners are vitally important to our business, and we're doing more and more with them every day. So that's part of the role we play. One of the hardest things for any partner to do with a vendor is to figure out, who they're supposed to talk to, who they interact with, who can help them, whatever. So we provide a conduit to help them do that, and engaging them in opportunities that come their way through other marketing activities that maybe we're not involved with, but where a partner can be adding value, both whether that be monetary or in most cases, right, through their IP. But where it brings value to ServiceNow and our customers, because that's why partners are there. We cannot survive. We cannot get to where we want to be without partners in the ecosystem that's supporting us today.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's right in line with what Mr. McDermott, our fearless leader, has been saying. It's everything is about the partner and enabling the partner. So you guys have a big job, an important job, and I think what's challenging about your role, because you said the objective is easy, the task is not, is so many disparate kinds of partners, certainly doing similar things in a way on the core function of ServiceNow, but different business models, different geographies around the globe, different perspectives on verticals and the kinds of work they want to do in the app store and managed services and implementations. You guys have it's a tall task. That's what I'm saying. You guys have a big role to play. Thinking about all of that mix of the 2,000 some odd global partners that are out there right now, and how, there's a fixed supply of work that needs done, and there's an ever expanding partner ecosystem that's working to get that work from users. Could you just describe a little bit what staying relevant as a partner means? And how do you stay relevant to users? What does that mean? And why is that important inside of the ServiceNow ecosystem for partners to be really concerned with?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I'm going to reverse the comment you just made.
Okay.
You said there's a fixed supply of work to be done and this ecosystem of partners. The challenge that we really have today as ServiceNow, is probably the fastest growing company ever, as the size that we are, is the reverse of that. It's a fixed supply of personnel and partners to get the work done, and an ever expanding list of tasks that need to get done for us and our customers. Right. And that's what RISEUP is about, which I think you're going to talk to some other folks within ServiceNow about RISEUP, because we need personnel that understand ServiceNow and the platform to help the customers that are our customers achieve the outcomes they're looking for. So what does it mean to stay relevant? And so the diversity of the ecosystem, it is a broad spectrum of partners, right? We have global systems integrators, service providers, small regional partners. We have partners that are ISV partners only, and strategic alliance partners that are in most ways bigger than us, where we're in some ways a partner to them versus the reverse. So massive difference in how they go to market. The one area where it's fairly consistent, because we are a more complex offering than selling a widget, if you will. We require technical capabilities, and so you find organizations that are working with ServiceNow to be more tech heavy than marketing heavy. And so, right, you've got maybe a small group of salespeople, but then this larger group of pre-sales engineers, technicians, architects, on the technical side, delivery, implementation, employees, things like that. So big organization of that side because of the work that's required to get that done. And so when I think about what it takes to stay relevant, if I think about that on the marketing side and then tie that back into the other side, on the marketing side, partners, and sometimes they struggle with this, right? Because they're not marketers by nature. Most small businesses, or most businesses, do what they do well, and that may not be marketing. But especially when I think about our smaller partners, it's hard to drive a marketing initiative when you're not going after a volume play in small business, right? So what is marketing when you're going after I'll say a finite set of clients, because we focus in the larger space of enterprise and commercial. A lot of times that's a sales motion, or it might be event strategies, but there's a lot more to marketing than that. So how do you stay relevant? Well, for me, the first thing that I think of, content, right? I mean, all of the data today says that there are, up to possibly 17, 20 different personas in a buying center that are influencing and making decisions around what's going to happen. And that spans, because we cover workflows across customer, employee, IT, everything for the most part. You're talking to a very diverse audience, right? A technical IT person versus a business leader who's just trying to solve a business challenge they have, versus possibly someone in procurement who's simply trying to get the best deal. So you've got to think about what's the content that's going to help each of those individuals specifically drive an influence that says, yeah, ServiceNow and this specific solution is going to be what helps me solve the challenges that I have. And so you really have to deliver that content and push it out. I mean, and content's been king for a while now. I think content continues to grow as far as the need, because outside of the number of people, the sales engagement continues to get further down the funnel. So content is so important, making sure people are, and there's so much out there, making sure they're seeing the right content, and that right content is from you, and that content takes them on the journey they need to go down. So it's not just you've got all of this great content, but you have 5 pieces. How do you make sure you get that first piece that's the right piece to introduce them to ServiceNow and you to be the first one they see? It's really hard to do. And then bring them down that journey to when they're now available, ready to talk to you as a salesperson or to your sales team. So yeah, I mean, I think content is one of the key things. And obviously in doing so, it's the simple ideas of taking digital marketing and leveraging it, which many partners don't like to do, don't do well, or don't invest enough in. And that is, the social side of things, whether it be free or paid, content marketing, content syndication, display advertising, just simple things to make sure your message is out there versus the things people always think of, which I want to get in front of a customer. They still need to see your message. They still need to see your brand before they're going to decide to get in front of you. The other thing that I think about is on the backside of that, relevant, is once you've got them in the conversation, and you mentioned this, it's listening and then delivering on the outcomes that they need, right? If they're trying to deliver a better customer experience, don't go in thinking you know how to deliver that, because it might be different for this customer than it was the last customer, which you did a great job for. So listen to what it is they're actually telling you they need, what they're trying to accomplish, what their customers are telling them, and deliver those outcomes. Because if you don't deliver the outcomes, then they're going to find another partner. Move on, and you're no longer on the payroll, because if they don't deliver, if they're not successful, they're going to pay enough for ServiceNow. They need that to be a successful implementation.
So that's great. I mean, so many gold nuggets in there. 3 quick summaries there. content is king, leverage digital marketing and social, and listen and deliver. 3 key takeaways there. That's awesome. Love it. It kind of dovetails right into my next thought that I want to put in front of you. So in our report this year, we uncovered some pretty good news for the state of the ecosystem. And it was that 75% of users are planning to increase their investment in the platform. And when you think about, just the economy, uncertainty, to have 3/4 of the ecosystem planning to increase investment, not just stay the same, but increase, that's huge. But I even think what was more interesting in the report was less than 2% signaled any decrease at all, which was crazy. I mean, it's just such a cool stat, gives you a little bit of certainty about the near term. And so if you are a partner who hears that, who's looking at that, and it's basically a signal that people are raising their hand saying, hey, I have money to spend with you. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. If you're a partner, how can you best put yourself in a position to be the partner that is chosen to receive those funds, to do the work, to, deliver for these users?
Well, so the first thing I'll jump out with, based on the research that you guys did and the outcome of that, meaning, very few people are spending less, almost everyone's spending more. That's where you see the Yes campaign with ServiceNow out in marketplace. And if you haven't seen it, you're missing it. But the concept of Yes is the fact, and the reason people are investing more in ServiceNow is because in the global economic environment we've had, people are trying to figure out how to cut costs. And a lot of products can help you do that. On the flip side of that, they're also saying, well, maybe I've had layoffs or whatever, and I need to be more efficient, more productive with the employee base that I still have, or I want customers to be more productive. Yes, from ServiceNow is that we allow you to do both, which is why you see those investment choices, because the customer is able to say, yes, I need to be more productive, and yes, I need to reduce cost, or whatever that equation might be. And the answer for us is yes, we can help you achieve both of those. So that's where I think that data comes from, and that's why we think that campaign is so relevant in the market space. But how do you become the partner of choice? So first of all, following on from the last discussion, if you've got a customer, if you deliver those outcomes, they're going to continue to work with you, right? I mean, you may have to rebid and get on an RFP or something to keep that business based on how their business model is and requirements. But if you've done a good job, they're probably going to stay consistent with you. But the thing that I think about, when you get a product like ITOM or ITSM or HR or whatever, it's not as simple as a product of HR, right? Within each of those licensing models, depending on which package, if you will, the customer goes with, there could be dozens, there's certainly more than 10 specific products that the customer can actually leverage of what they purchased, right? And so let's just say there's 20 and I bought ITSM. Within each of those solution sets they bought, there is a set of those products that, we've seen customers that have been the most successful, that they've used those specific set of products. And let's just say and I'm gonna round this out. Let's just say out of ITSM and the 20 different things within ITSM that you get in that solution offering, there are 5 things that if you do those things, your ITSM implementation and the outcomes you're likely going for are going to be most successful. You're going to more likely get what you're looking for. And so for partners, it's understanding, which we share that data with partners. We know what those top offerings are, products, if you will, within a product that customers need to implement to be successful. That's the first thing, right? Understand what those are. And as you're working with customers, you're doing implementations, or even if you're talking to a customer who is trying to get more out of the platform, understand where they are in leveraging those apps that are so critical to their success as a core to within the products that they have. Because if you're not selling and getting them to implement all of those, or if you're coming in as a follow-on to another, their own implementation or whatever, understanding how they're using those and if they are, and then helping them understand why it's so critical is probably key to then getting them back on the road to success and getting you to be that trusted advisor, because that is going to drive the outcomes. What that'll also do is help them understand within the product, everything else they can use, right, within that. And then that potentially opens doors to expanding the platform beyond the area of business they have. So instead of just ITSM, maybe they add HR into the mix, because IT and HR are connected, right, with onboarding and offboarding and how all that works. So that's really, I think, the key is looking at those apps that are so critical to a customer success, understanding those, and then delivering those or helping a customer deliver those, and then going from there.
That's awesome. You got that as a fourth takeaway here. Understand core success products and deliver on those. It's a great way to stay relevant. I love that. That's awesome. A few minutes left here. I'm going to ask you maybe, I got so many good questions for you. I got to figure out, I think like with every session, people might hear me say this throughout the day. You've given so much pragmatic advice already, but I'd love to take it to the next level, just real specific. What are the most successful partners doing from a marketing perspective to stay top of mind with users? And what activities are partners doing that, this is kind of like a second part of the question. What are the most successful partners doing? And then what activities are partners doing that they think are helping, but is really hurting their efforts, and they need to change their thinking a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of combine a few things that I have and thoughts around that. And in the last question, what partners think they're doing what that are helping them but maybe hurting them? That's a hard one to judge without sitting at the partner, but I definitely have thoughts on that. And it's not rocket science, right? We've talked about content and taking them on that journey and delivering outcomes and doing, being that trusted advisor, making sure they're leveraging the platform and things that really are going to help them be successful. Those are basic. But again, coming back to the side of marketing and the role that I play in helping partners, and as a longtime marketer, what I think about when I think about what you just asked, number one is consistency. Number one, right? Don't go do some paid social campaign in January and then go back and do it in October. That's not going to work, right? If you're going to be on LinkedIn, be on LinkedIn. If you're going to pay for it routinely. Just figure out your budget that can keep you going consistently. Narrow your target if you need to, whatever. Make sure you're understanding posts, things like that. But you absolutely want to be consistent in your go-to-market effort. And if you're doing webinars, right, have a monthly webinar, have a webinar every 2 weeks, whatever. But drive that consistency, because again, it's really difficult. There's a lot of competition for share of voice. There's a lot of competition for customers' wallet. Helping them understand who you are, how you can help them, and having them think of you. The time is right because they just saw something on LinkedIn that referenced a content piece that is going to help them. That's timing. And if you're not there in March because you're only doing January and October, then you've missed that. Move on. So that's the one thing. I also think it's really key to have informative content. And that is not just, telling them about you, but telling them about successes that you've seen with customers, whether that is absolutely identifying a customer name because they've given you permission to do so, or referencing a large global X customer that had these challenges and we've solved their problems with what, right? Customers want to know relevancy of how problems have been solved for their peers, also aligned to industry. So that aligns to size of business, right? Don't tell me a 500 employee company did great when I'm a 50,000 employee company. And don't tell me how telco is working when I might be in the manufacturing or consumer goods space, because there's some connection there, but maybe not enough. So think about that, the informative content pieces. So that's what I think about. So always on consistency in digital, and making sure your content is just not about you and the solutions that you offer, but it's information that is relevant to them and the journey they may be on. And sometimes that doesn't really talk about you at all. It just has your logo on it. Number one. Number two, what do partners need to do, and or what are they doing? And I'm going to tie these together that may not be working for them. I see a lot of companies try to bite off more than they can chew. They may be capable across the entire ServiceNow platform, but that doesn't mean you need to market across the entire ServiceNow platform, right? Where are you best? Where do you believe, as you put a business plan together, you're going to get most of your opportunities? And that could be a region of the country, that could be a specific industry, that could be a specific workflow in IT or customer experience, whatever. But where do you think your opportunities are going to come because of where you've had success? Things that your marketing can leverage because you've got customer stories in that space, you've got solutions that you can really talk about, or offerings in that space. But figure out what that is. Maybe that's 2 or 3 things, but it shouldn't be 10. And really market those. Because if you're able to sell those and you get in the door, do the things we've already talked about, then everything else will come. But if you're trying to spend your marketing dollars across 10 items, then you're going to be so thin, then you're going to be, maybe you're constantly in market, but your IT's guy is going to be January and October, because in February and March, you got to hit the customer experience guy. And then the other months, you got to hit the HR guy, because you don't have enough budget to hit everything, the amount that you want. You never have enough budget. So think about what your priority is, what your business opportunity is, focus on those, and then know that the rest will come, because if you're doing your job right, you're going to get those opportunities. And I think that's the piece, is finding that sweet spot, not trying to do it all, and landing on that and being willing to stay focused. You're going to sell everything when you get there. You just don't have to market everything all the time. And I think that impacts partners because they're spread too thin. They're trying to tell everybody they can do everything, as opposed to really leaning in on where they have success. And by the way, that impacts their ability with ServiceNow also, because people see all the things they can do, but they don't necessarily see them leaning in one area of the business. And as a partner, when you really lean in, that area of the business, whether it be the product side of product marketing, the business unit, or folks that specialize in our solution sales in that area of the space, they see you leaning in, they want to do more with you. But if you're kind of covering everything and you're not really that one expert, you may or may not get touched by them to go off and do additional things with them in a joint effort.
Man, wisdom just kind of flows out of you. It's like you don't even have to try, and you're just, just giving such great thinking for partners. We're out of time, but I'm going to summarize for the audience out there kind of what you said. I did a little rearranging while you were talking. This was so awesome. You're very generous with your thoughts and your time. Thank you for being on. 5 ways that partners can stay relevant. Consistent, informative content is king. That's number 1. Number 2, you've got to leverage digital marketing and social. If you're not, what are you doing? Just to put it bluntly. Number 3, listening and delivering. What do they need? Then give them what they need. Number 4, understand the core success products. Even if you want to do all this other stuff, you got to understand what core products people want and need and deliver them. And number 5, this was the last one. You got to focus. You can't be all things, all people. Even if you can deliver and do that stuff and you want to, you got to focus, especially in the budget area and the messaging area, to create relevance and turn it into revenue. Mr. Nordstrom, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the wisdom that you have shared with us. Where can people find you if they want to just learn more about what you're doing? Any partners out there that want to connect? How would you like them to connect with you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to connect with anyone that wants to find me on LinkedIn. It's Michael Nordstrom, and it's just right out there. I'm easy to find in ServiceNow. And I'm happy to connect with any partner out there as well, michael.nordstrom@servicenow.com. Just send me a note, and we'll go from there.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time.
Nate, thanks for having me.
Yep. No problem. Glad you could be on. Up next, we have Tricia, Halbert, and Jim Taylor from ServiceNow as well, talking about RISEUP, how partners and users can make the most out of that program. So stay tuned. Mr. Nordstrom, thank you for the time. We'll see you. All right, everybody, welcome back to the State of ServiceNow 2023 Virtual Summit. And to continue in the vein of the genius folks over at the mothership at ServiceNow, you guys are in for a real treat in this session. We have not one, but two incredibly generous and smart and kind individuals from ServiceNow, Tricia, Halbert, and Jim Taylor, talking about how to maximize the full power and potential of the RISEUP initiative. So a little description for the session. I'm just going to read it verbatim for you. Based on findings from the 2023 report, users are excited and optimistic about ServiceNow's RISEUP initiative and the opportunity to change the job market. But in order to rise, they need a helping hand. So today, Jim and Tricia, they are going to cast vision for a future where we all rise together. Guys, thank you for joining. I know you guys are extremely busy helping the world work with ServiceNow, making the world better for everyone, making the world work better. I'm reading your backgrounds, making the world work better for everyone. It's great. Thank you for being here. Jim, you are the Senior Director of Global Partner Enablement. Could you tell us about your role, your team, what you're focused on?
Sure, Nate. And let me just say on behalf of Tricia and I, it is great for us to be here to spread the word and to spread the message about what we've been doing and what we're going to continue to do going forward. My responsibilities at ServiceNow are to manage the regional partner enablement teams, the ones that are on the ground to execute and deliver the events, the movements, the initiatives for ServiceNow directly to our partners, to engage with our partners and to, again, give our partners all the information and the direction they need to be successful, while also receiving information back from our partners that helps us do things better.
Nice, a little feedback loop. That's key there. I like that you said that. Tricia, what about you? What are you guys focused on your team, and what are you focused on in your role?
All right. So my name is Tricia, and I lead partner enablement across the Americas. And within ServiceNow, that it includes the US, Canada, and Latin America. And Jim Taylor happens to be my boss. So we're coming in together with the two of us to talk to you, Nate. But our remit is we work with the partners across the Americas to help them effectively rise up with ServiceNow, to grow their ServiceNow practices so that they can grow their businesses and ultimately grow the ServiceNow ecosystem.
Awesome. Growth and enablement, the summary there, just giving them what they need to keep going. Yeah, I mentioned in another session already that, Bill, if he said it once, he said it 100. Bill McDermott, the CEO of ServiceNow, he said it once, he said it 100 times. The partners are everything. And I think you guys are in a really unique position with the enablement side. You offer a really unique perspective on how to boost this whole ecosystem with this RISEUP thing. Before we jump in, I'm going to throw a curveball personal question at you. What do you like to do? What's the one thing that we can catch you doing when you're not working?
Who goes first, Jim?
Now, I know you guys work all the time, nights, weekends. I mean, you guys are hardworking people. But when you're not working, Tricia, you first. What can we find you doing?
Well, I will tell you what I did last night, which is, what I love to do. So I live in sunny Southern California in a town called Dana Point. It's on the water. So my girlfriends and I, we went down. We have in our neighborhood, a little beachfront bluff park. We brought a couple of bottles of wine. We sat at the beach and we watched the sunset. So I would say that's very indicative of what I enjoy doing. Friends, beach, sunset, wine.
That sounds very life-giving. I feel like if I had an evening like that, first of all, my wife would be like, how dare you without me? And then like after that, though, I would feel very refreshed and just kind of like, I'm ready to take on the Thursday. I'm ready to just get to the weekend. I'm good. I'm full.
Same.
It's good. Jim, what can we find you doing when you're not working?
I also like watching sunsets, but I like it to be over a baseball stadium where I'm sitting watching a baseball game.
Let's go.
It
Let's
is
go.
deeply entrenched in my DNA, from my father and his father. And, as long as I can remember, that's been the most peaceful moments and the most relaxed I feel is when I'm sitting in a stadium watching a baseball game.
Oh man, that's cool. I have some core memories of, I'm from Cleveland. So at the time they were called the Indians, now the Guardians, just being in the stands with my dad. It's just like something about it. You walk in, someone's shouting for beer and you smell the hot dogs. You're like, this is my happy place. This is where I'm supposed to be. What is
Next
it?
time I get
Phillies?
out to San Diego to see Tricia, I'm going to finagle us getting to a Padres game. And
I've heard that park is amazing, by the way. I've heard it's like really fun, a really fun thing to do.
It's amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for indulging me in that. Oftentimes I told you guys this before. I feel like some of these things are just so stiff and people get on there just like, well, talking about ServiceNow, and you're just like, we get it, but we're also humans who have families and hobbies, and that's equally as important to everything. It's actually dovetails kind of right into RISEUP because it's probably one of the most human things that is inside of the ecosystem. I mean, all of it is human enablement and empowering people to do more, but very specifically, RISEUP is focused on championing people. And so could you just kind of explain to the people who aren't unfamiliar, what is RISEUP, and just give a little overview of the program?
Sure, I can take that one, Tricia. First, I want to say something about ServiceNow, in not just the people that work at ServiceNow, within ServiceNow, but really extends to our partner communities, is that work is the engine that kind of drives our lives, but it is not the only engine. We want work to be the best it can be, but it is so that we can truly enjoy the rest of our lives. And I think that's a kind of a core creed that we have at ServiceNow, and it's why it is such a great company to work for. And we encourage so many people to pursue ServiceNow careers in their capacity, because it truly is a refreshing way to work, and it's a refreshing way to look at their lives as well. It's a tough balance. I won't say that we struggle sometimes with long hours and things of that nature, but the core is always there, is that the human nature and work-life success comes first. So I thought I wanted to mention that for you, Nate,
That's great.
Because that's really the core of what we're doing with RISEUP. So, okay, what is RISEUP? Well, you know what? The full question should be, what is RISEUP and why is it so important to all of our partners? Well, it's an answer that I think is pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. As ServiceNow has continued to grow exponentially, I mean, just in the 6 years that Tricia and I have been with ServiceNow, there has been more products, more solutions, more releases, more technologies, more coverage for the needs of our customers. There is just an ever increasing demand as a result of that growth for trained ServiceNow professionals in the marketplace. As a direct result of our growth, our partners are also now seeking to grow and expand their practices to increase their coverage and the quality of their capabilities. So for them and for us, an infusion of talent isn't just a luxury, it's a business necessity. So that is really what RISEUP, comes from, what it grew from. So what is RISEUP exactly? Well, it's not a program, it's not a single offering, it's not a session. It is a movement created by ServiceNow to really provide high-tech support, high-touch support to dedicated individuals who are seeking more exciting careers, and to committed organizations who are driving to enhance their ServiceNow talent. So both of those aspects come into play. The individuals who are looking and the organizations who are there to welcome them. So to support this, ServiceNow with this Rise Up movement is investing, accelerating, incentivizing programs that are literally built, tailor-made to expand the market of talent and the number of individuals within our partners who are what we call ServiceNow ready. And to the world at large, we are offering career journeys that will be fulfilling, challenging, and successful. So what is Rise Up? Rise Up is a future for so many.
Oh, I love that. Oh, you got me going now. I got a little chills when you were talking. You should think about a political career after you're done in the ServiceNow space, because you can orate. That was good. Tricia, I mean, he got me going.
Like, he's amazing. You should see him. And he plays the guitar and sings. So when he's on stage and plays the guitar and sings, like, the audience is captivated.
I knew I could sense that you have a history of performing, because you're like so natural. You know, some people get on there to, what do I do with my hands? I don't know. And you're just like, you speak so well in this setting. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. I wrote down, not a program of movement. And that's kind of what sticks to me. A movement that appears to be empowering people on career journeys and skills and giving them what they need to make the most of their own potential. Really, it's kind of what it sounds like. It's really cool.
It's wider. It's wider. We all have programs. We all have projects. We'd like to think that this initiative, this Rise Up initiative, is more than that, because it is human. To our original point, it's dealing with human beings and saying, this is a direction for you. Think about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. My next thought here, I'm just going to throw it out to either of you. So in the report this year, we asked what benefits ServiceNow users saw in having a highly skilled ServiceNow expert in a select practice area embedded on their team. And just a few, I mean, there was a lot of top responses, but a few of the responses, or the what's the right word? We condensed them down to the things that were themes, throughout the responses. Users responded that having a highly skilled ServiceNow expert embedded on their team would boost internal morale, it would build resilience, increase speed to market. There was like 10 more that just stood out. And most of them were the affect on the humans at the center, boosting morale. It's hard to measure that, but you can really feel the impact of that. So my question is, what are you guys at the, who are championing this movement? What are you hearing about the benefits both partners are receiving from participating in the movement and users are receiving as well, all the way down the line?
Yeah, I'll take that one. And so I would say, like, we're even expanding that audience, partners, users, and ServiceNow, because we are getting a benefit from it as well. And then I would even further drill down to say that it's not a benefit, it's a requirement. It's essential to have a growth in our ServiceNow skilled ecosystem. So it's great that everyone that responded to the survey sees these benefits, but as a business, to sustain our growth that we know we are in the midst of, we are exploding as a business. And if we don't have trained and certified individuals to support us from an implementation perspective, we won't be able to sustain the growth that we are experiencing today. And then even further, like kind of opening the kimono a little bit, a lot of the charter that Jim and I do with our partners globally is around quality, implementation quality. So when projects get sold, they have to get implemented, and then they have to get renewed. And if we don't have certified individuals deployed on projects that get high CSAT scores, and like a CSAT score internally is kind of like that survey that says how great was your implementation or how great wasn't your implementation. If we don't get those great scores, then those implementations go south. We're not going to get renewal business, and our growth is going to stop. So it's great benefit. RiseUp helps to do this, but it's also essential to the growth of our business, to the growth of our partners' business, and to the ultimate success of the customers.
Wow, that's great. When you were talking, I thought of this phrase that somebody said to me when I was getting married 10 years ago. They said, "Happy wife, happy life." Yeah. And almost kind of what you're saying is like, if the workforce is empowered and enabled, the business will grow and will be able to achieve its goals. Don't forget that, Jim, if this is the first time you're ever hearing that.
I've heard it once or twice.
Maybe it was you who told me.
I will to add what Tricia said, that for us as well, and for our partners, this is the whole business model. We're not selling copiers or furniture. We're selling ongoing service, and renewals is what we're built upon. Our customers have to be happy with what we're giving them, or we don't exist. And then a happy customer will then invest more. So again, it feeds itself. The happiness and the contentment of what we're giving customers feeds itself. Another benefit of just this program in general is this, Nate. For so many folks out there, we are providing clear career pathways, like roads that we have built. Like, what is more frustrating than pulling up to a fork in the road with three turns? Maybe I'm dating myself because this is before GPS, where you just weren't sure which direction. So now you go to apply it metaphorically to careers. But before people knew which way to go, and they're coming to crossroads, they're coming to just key decision times in their lives, we're providing them with literally a airplane runway that takes them to personas they want to pursue, to the courseware, to the needs that they want to, take in to build their skills. And it is a huge, huge need for the future. I'm not going to pretend to know this off the top of my head. I am going to look at a piece of paper here, but everything we're doing with ServiceNow plays right into what IDC and other reports have said is going to be the key needs in the tech space. In the coming years, and I'm leaning in because I have to read this. In the coming years, 90% of organizations will be affected by digital transformation IT skills shortages. So 90% of organizations will have a gap in the people they have and the people they need to meet their business goals. By 2025, the estimated cost of the technical talent gap to organizations will exceed an estimated 6.5 trillion, that's trillion with a T, US dollars. And finally, those first two are from IDC. The last one is from a BCG report. And finally, 6 million bodies will be needed to fill the estimated technical talent deficit by 2030 in the US alone. In Tricia's region alone, will be 6 million short. And 2030, I remember 2030 when I was a kid meant space into distant galaxies and everything. But guess what? It's right around the corner now, and we have real issues in our tech space right here. So all that is what ServiceNow is trying to accomplish and try to close with our initiatives with RiseUp and just our general training initiatives as a whole.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm gonna take all of that and I'm gonna put it into the here and now, like the short term, because they can connect in this one way. And I'd love to see what you guys have to say about this. So in our report this year, 50% of users said that they are focused on enhancing and expanding the solutions that they already have. And so when you think about skilled labor and the journeys that people are on and the shortages that are coming, and users who need help making the most of what they have right now, how can RiseUp help partners make the most out of the platform investments they have already?
I'll take that one. So, in its essence, RISEUP lowers or removes the barrier to entry to our training and certification courses, thus expanding the ecosystem. So that's the essence of what it is. There's various ways in which someone gets skilled on ServiceNow. We had heard previously that whether it was cost, accessibility, etc., it was sometimes hard for a partner to leverage all of the courses that they needed to get certified. And what RISEUP has done is we've made it easier for them. So for a partner that wants to expand into a new area within our platform, they want to grow their business, they can access our training. Our partners get our training free of charge now. So they get our training free of charge. As Jim mentioned in the opening description of RISEUP, we've also created new learning paths. So new opportunities for partner growth and customer growth. And what we've found is that those new learning paths are essential to tech implementation projects. And we didn't have those previously. So when a partner goes to take on new business and implement a project, we have non-technical roles now, which we didn't have before. So in essence, what RISEUP is doing for our partners to help them expand is lowering the barrier to entry, making it easier to get trained and certified, and creating new avenues of training that are non-technical that feed into an overall project success.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's available to almost all partners. Is that the case?
To all partners that are part of are registered as a part of our partner program.
That's awesome. And Jim, I know that for a select tier of partner, the global partners, I forget how many, 20 some odd partners, there are additional resources available as well. Is that correct?
That is true. The top partners that we focus on, it is, you were right, Nate, it's a 25, a group of 25. Those partners that have, through their commitment and their investment, have met criteria that puts them in this higher echelon. And from our point of view, and every software company has that type of thing within a partner program that focuses on top partners. Those partners usually have more dedicated resources to just them, people that are in place to work on their strategies, work on their business plans, provide more of a high touch, white glove type of attention. In fact, Tricia in her role supports those initiatives as well as the wider partner base. She's often has to be called in to provide specific need, to meet specific needs for our top partners. So essentially, if someone creates a business plan, it is Tricia's team and my other teams as well, but it's Tricia who will then deliver the actual execution and delivery of the materials and the needs that those top partners have. I do want to say something else about how far we've come with this area and why it's so important. Partner enablement 6 years ago when Tricia and I joined ServiceNow, I think it was basically like, well, let's get the partner enabled. Here's the link to the portal. Good luck to you. So what has been really exciting for Tricia and I is to be part of this our own transformation, to be part of a huge organization that provides so much to customers and partners. And Tricia is the best of the best. I always tell her superpower is no matter who she's talking to, the partner, the customer, or internal, they know they're in great hands. So that's become our mission as we go forward. And the last thing to second on Tricia's point was, you don't have to be technical. I'm not technical. So no matter who you are, or no matter what your specific talents are, or what you aspire to be, ServiceNow and the ServiceNow ecosystem has a role for you.
That's awesome to hear. It's very uplifting and encouraging. In a world of exclusivity, it's refreshing and nice to hear a giant tech company going, come on in, baby. Water's great. Tricia, did you have something to add?
I did. And so first, embarrassing, Jim, but thank you. But then second, just a little bit more tactically around what we offer our global partners in case any global partners are out there and we haven't had the conversation with you yet. But through RISEUP, we have additional talent talent acquisition avenues for them, because we know that especially all of our partners, but especially the global partners, they're experiencing a talent shortage, which is why RISEUP. But what we have available for our global partners is something called an enterprise training agreement. We refer to it as the ETA. And the benefit to the partners that are global is they run multiple entities across the globe. And in the past, it was really hard for them to access the training, schedule classes, because they had to open POs, different cost centers, different account numbers. And then with the enterprise training agreement that came as a result of RISEUP, it's again lowering that barrier to entry, making it easier for our global partners to figure out what training they need and to sign up for it and to get it ultimately, because they're partnering with us to skill up. And they're also getting a huge cost savings when they buy in mass. But so that's one. And then also through RISEUP, we have again, talent is a shortage. There's a talent shortage for everyone, but especially the global partners. So we have a whole workforce development pillar, and they have built out different talent streams. So we have something called tech placement partners, and those are partners that have a whole repository of skilled resources. And then if our global partner comes to me and says, hey, we have this project, we need a customer service management certified bench to help implement the project we know we're going to get, and we don't have that talent, I'll say, let me introduce you to one of our tech placement partners. They have that bench, they can help you. And then also from a philanthropic lens and under the RISEUP umbrella, we have a program called NextGen. And what we'll talk a little bit about some people stories, some human stories at the end. Some of these people came in through us through NextGen. And NextGen really helps to cultivate people in career change, underrepresented minorities. We ServiceNow skill them up, no charge. We get them embedded into the ecosystem, and then we make them available to our partners. And, a lot of our global partners, have a long-lasting relationship with us and take advantage of those resources.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, the path is clear. You guys, if you're out there listening, no excuse. You got to jump on this. This is awesome. You got all the enablement you need right here. We are about out of time. But I would love, Tricia, if you could run the video that you had, just that shows some success stories of people that have participated in this. And then after that, we'll say a quick goodbye and that'll be it.
All right. Sounds good. Give me a second and I will share.
I actually used to sell apartments for $9.45 an hour.
I had a wife and 2 kids that I had to support. And, it was really risky for me to jump out there on my own.
I was working 80 hours a week. I didn't know what I even wanted to do.
I thought my career was done.
My background is not at all in IT or tech.
But I always thought when I was a kid I'd be a firefighter, I'd work for the FBI or CIA and be a secret agent.
My boss tells me, we're implementing this thing called ServiceNow.
Hey, you wanted to give this a try? And I'm like, absolutely.
From there, I took the program, and here I am.
You don't have to be that classic look of big-brained, complete nerd, super genius.
I was able to pick up and learn and grow.
ServiceNow is a digital platform.
You can use it for IT, you can use it for HR, you can use it for customer service.
I can't imagine a thing that I can't do on it.
We're able to make careers for ourselves.
And everyone within the community is so positive.
We're able to get together.
Hey, don't do that, try this.
Collaborate.
I feel like some of these people are just some of my best friends.
That just really want to help.
That's one of the things I love about the community.
ServiceNow has definitely changed my life.
I never had an opportunity to actually go on a vacation until this year.
I'm able to have amazing work-life balance where I can take the time to study and further my career and get a degree like my dad wants me to do so I can make him proud.
It just gives me such a sense of accomplishment.
I feel very respected as a woman, as a mother, as a person, as a developer.
It's changed my life so much.
I went from an operations manager to the CEO of my own company.
I went from limited to limitless.
I went from just a job to a dream job.
Anybody can do it.
Go for it.
As long as you believe in it, you can do it.
It completely changed everything for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And you guys, thank you for giving, your time today, you're so generous with your thinking, and I'm just grateful that you joined, and just thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Nate, for the opportunity.
Pleasure was ours, Nate. You take care of yourself.
All right. Thank you, guys. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the State of ServiceNow Summit. That was a great session with Tricia and Jim about RISEUP. I'm thankful that they joined. It was really informative. Reach out to them if you have more questions. Don't hesitate. You guys are in for a real treat on this one. I know I say that with every session because I feel like every one of these is special, but you really are. Today, we have Matt Stoyka, CEO of New Rocket, large ServiceNow partner. Going to talk to us a little bit about the age of verticalization and how to deliver industry-specific solutions that users need. So if you are unfamiliar with Matt, let me give you just a high-level primer. Matt, please correct me if I swing and miss on some of this stuff. From a very high level, Matt has been an entrepreneur, business builder, business coach, team leader, enterprise leader for more than 25 years. I don't know how old you were when you started your first business, but my hunch would be like early 20s, somewhere around there.
Yeah, a little bit later than that, but yeah, close.
He's been doing this a long time. He's got an expertise in service-based businesses inside of the technology space. And when you think about all of the moving parts that go into a tech service-based business, you have the privilege of hearing from a guy who has really refined his approach to making that successful, making that space successful. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining. And I will mention too, devoted husband, loving father of 2 girls. I should have led with that because that's the coolest thing about you, in my opinion. Lives in Southern California, great family. From Canada, just across the bridge from Detroit.
And you're covering it.
What did I miss? Anything?
You forgot the dog. You forgot Theo.
Oh, Theo. Yeah. He's got this great dog, guard dog, fierce guard dog that will yell at you as soon as you enter the territory of the home. But yeah, I'm just going to jump right in. Anything to add about your background? Anything you want people to know about you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to see you. And, love the report. I'm a huge fan. That's how we've gotten to know each other. And I just think the information is incredibly helpful, especially for the partner ecosystem. But you guys do a great job. So thank you for having me. I appreciate that. Yeah, I remember we did the first one a year ago. And when we met each other, you told me about how valuable you felt it was. And you actually gave us some coaching on how to even make it better this year. And so if you're on this video, Matt had actually given some feedback about the product, which is super valuable. If you're making anything in this space, get some feedback because it can help. So with that, I'm going to jump in. We're going to do some rapid fire questions about how to deliver industry specific solutions that users actually need. The first one is just kind of thinking about ServiceNow making a push. And when you hear Bill talk about the space and the momentum that's in the space, his whole thing is about just value creation. When it comes down to it, it's just about impacting users with as much stinking value as a tech platform can create. And in light of that, there's this big push for verticalization. So I don't know, what's your take on
why verticalization from ServiceNow, and what do you think it unlocks for users of the platform?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, and it's a very prescient topic right now. I mean, you're seeing all of the tech services and technology companies focus on industry and verticals. And I think the reason why is that, our customers and our clients are really, quite demanding in what they need to help them transform their business. And so from what we're seeing is our clients are always looking for that guidance and that advisory. Like, how do we help tell them, share with them, and guide them through the journey? And I think that to be able to advise and guide them, you have to understand at a decent level what industry they're in, what's special and unique about their industry, what's special and unique about their business. So the more that you can understand that, the more you spend time to understand that vertical or understand that specific industry, I think the more that you can provide that guidance that the client is looking for. So I think it's really driven by the client need, which is what you want it to be driven by. And I think for us, we're responding by having expertise in specific industry that allows us to again, guide that client and ultimately make them the hero of the journey.
Oh, I like that last part, the hero of the journey. That's a good one. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Guiding the client as best as possible, making them the hero of the journey connects right to industry specific solutions. I love that. In the report, kind of along this line of the specificity around industry, in the report, users were asked what opportunities they see for ServiceNow to drive growth in their businesses, even in an uncertain economic climate. And the way that they responded, by and large, was around ServiceNow can provide sustainable industry-specific solutions. And they saw that as a way to mitigate the economic situation. So why do you think that they responded this way? And for the partners watching, what should they take away from how buyers are feeling about that right now?
I think we're all uneasy, right? It's been an interesting year to date, I think, for everyone. And while there's certainly growth and growth is there to be had, I think that you, again, have to really focus on that value and the value that you're creating. And I think that for our clients, even with uncertain times, they're getting more pressure from their stakeholders to improve their business in some way, shape, or form, or transform their business in some way, shape, or form. And that means, in some cases, it could be all cost driven. Like, we need to reduce costs. We need to become more efficient. In other ways, it may mean how we go to market. We need to attract more clients. We need to retain more clients. And so I think that with uncertainty comes an opportunity to look and be creative at what those solutions might be for the clients. I think that, again, they're looking, most of our clients are looking at how can they deliver a great experience to their employees? How can they deliver an amazing experience to their customers? How can they operate efficiently? How can they connect disparate information so they have a full understanding of what their business is experiencing, and then they can make great decisions? And I just think that, again, when you can do that, and then taking it back to your first question around verticalization, when you can tie those two things together, you have a pretty powerful or compelling solution that you can provide, which then creates the value that, you referred to.
Well, there's a common thread in the way that you're answering those things, and it's around, basically, if I could summarize it, like understanding and listening to users and responding accordingly. And I've been following you for a while now, ever since we did the first report and met. And one of the things that you really harp on, and I really appreciate about you, is that you have this whole take on empathy. In fact, sometimes you refer to yourself as the Chief Empathy Officer. And when you look at the concept of listening to users as the foundation for the answers to your question, verticalization, and navigating an uncertain climate, could you elaborate on any connection that you see between verticalization and empathy for users from partners? Because I know they seem like disparate ideas, but my hunch is that they're connected in some way, or that you see them as connected.
Yeah, no, it's a interesting thought. And, I think that it's funny because I would rarely refer to myself as the Chief Executive Officer, right? But kind of like the chief empathy officer, just because it's so much more human related, right? It's more about the relationships that we create and that we have and that we, you know, foster and encourage. And when you think about like then translating that to the type of business that I'm in, it's ultimately we're a service provider, right? We're providing a service to those that need it based on our expertise and understanding. And one of the things that's really been eye-opening as I've kind of gone through my career is just learning about your client, right? Learning about the person, learning about the team, learning about their industry, and understanding that creates a deep level of empathy. And really what empathy, you know, ultimately is being able to put yourself in the other person's place and experience what they're experiencing so that you can respond accordingly. And, you know, we use this analogy. It's like if you know, you're with someone who doesn't have very good eyesight, and for a day you had to wear their glasses, or you didn't have their glasses and you had to look at the world through their eyes, how would you experience it? What kind of emotional, you know, feelings would you have around it? And so I think that the simple connection between empathy or an empathetic approach and verticalization is really about understanding the world and the existence that your client has. And if you can specifically understand it, you know, whether it's banking or insurance or it's technology or media, when you can really understand that because you've spent the time, you've studied, we've you know, done countless projects in these areas, I think you really have an opportunity then to connect with the client at a deeper level, creating a more meaningful relationship. And remember, relationships are all based on one thing, trust. And if you have that trust, then you're more likely to have an interactive conversation throughout the process, whether it's, you know, before you've actually won the opportunity or after. And I think that's, you know, that trust is what, you know, creates an opportunity to then continue to do business together and help them. So I think that's just really about empathy, understanding, vertical, right? All kind of blending together.
I'm going to throw just a small curveball at you, just building off of what you're saying. So I think if you were to survey every partner in the space right now, and you said, hey, do you think it's important or a priority to listen to users? They would probably say, of course. But just quickly, what do you feel like the gap might be for a lot of partners out there where it might be articulated value, but not an expressed value? You know, like, why is it so easy to say we listen to users, but then we don't actually?
Well, I mean, listening isn't enough, right? Is really what it comes down to. Right? Listening is one way to understand, but there are others, right? Sitting in the chair and actually doing the work, you start getting a sense of how someone works, right? Having an expertise in a vertical that allows you to take these learned stories from, you know, multiple experiences and then applying them, right? You're building a muscle, right? You're building a muscle of understanding. So I think listening is only one part of that. And I think that's why it's sometimes listening to the end users only gets you so far and in some cases falls short. I think you really have to operate with user empathy, which is, okay, if I was the user using this, you know, technology solution, how would I want it to work, and where would I want it to, you know, impact my life, and how can it make it better? How can it make my job easier? How can it make me more effective? How can it allow me to be more creative in my problem solving? And, you know, and so I think it's really comes down to it's got to be deeper than just listening.
Yeah, which in some cases can be different than what are our internal business requirements. Because there's like a smash up of the business needs to do X, and I might not be able to do that if I invest heavily in understanding. So there's always this tension between like what we want to do, what users need us to do. You know, there's always that battle. So,
but the problem is that, you know, we're all accustomed to this technology, and, you know, which is a very, you know, personal experience, but it's also designed around, everything is designed around the user, right? And how many times have you downloaded an app and within a minute or two, you're like, I'm not going to use this app, right? Just because
that's me. That's me.
Right?
Yeah.
It just didn't connect with you. But then when you download an app and it just flows, you're like, yeah, they spent a lot of time putting themselves in the seat of the person that's going to use this app, 10 minutes, an hour, 3 hours a day. So we want to do the same with corporate technology.
That's right in line with what users signaled in the survey as well, because one of the sentiments that came from a series of questions, it was sort of a subjective thing that came out of a series of questions, was that users in the B2B tech space want that world to look and feel like it does for them in every other part of their life, right? So when you go buy a phone, no one loves buying a phone anyway, like you just held up your phone, but by and large, it's relatively easy. If you remember your Verizon password, you can go to the Apple store, buy a phone, they'll turn it on for you, and you can walk out of there in 30 minutes with a new phone. If you're in a corporate environment, I know the world is changing and people that are watching this are working to solve these problems, but you order a phone, it might come 2 weeks later. It might be the wrong model. It might not be turned on. There's not a lot of instructions. Like, this is just a very micro example. So I just wanted to highlight what you're saying. B2B tech, you has to build starting with user empathy, because the expectations from users are so high based on the way they're living their life every day. So I think it's good.
Yeah, maybe we should just invent the term B2U, business to user, right? And instead of A to Z, it's close enough, so it runs the gamut. But I do think that there's an element of everyone's a consumer, right, at this point. And so this whole concept of business, you've seen so many different supply chains disrupted because manufacturers realize that they can connect directly to their end buyer and they don't have to go through a distribution network, right? So to me, I think we need to think about, traditional corporate technology. And I think ServiceNow has done a phenomenal job. I think they've done, as well as anyone in creating a great user experience. And I think that's an area of focus for us, of course.
Yeah. I mean, we see it not just in this industry. COVID really did flipped everything on its head. I know in the office furniture space, for example, runs on a dealer network internationally. And all of a sudden during COVID, people were buying things working from home. I'm going to go to Amazon because that's the only place I can get an office chair. And it was all upended. And all of a sudden they had to figure out, what do users want in real time as sales numbers are going like this and competitors' numbers who have figured out D2C are going like this. And it's just, they're matching the business experience and the B2B experience with the experience users are having in their everyday lives. That's a great point. We went on a tangent there, but I thought it's really good thinking. I'm going to ask you a question just about, something really specific, because I always want people that view these sessions to have some takeaways and some meat. So for you, when you think about making the switch to structure around industry solutions and supporting the way that ServiceNow is going and agreeing with the vision and getting in line with it with your own company, could you speak a little bit to your process for evaluating a move like that internally? How do you think through such a large business model shift?
Well, you actually touched on it. It's about process, right? Having a well-defined process, and maybe it comes from my manufacturing days, but I see a lot of things as assembly lines, right? And there's inputs and then outputs. So in this case, our output is, okay, we want to be an expert in an industry or vertical. So then the question becomes, well, what are the inputs and lead us, and how do we assemble those inputs so that we can get to that output? And so for us, it's about, really creating that refined process. And the first thing is you have to listen to the voices that are out there that are the ones that are telling you, this is what I need. This is what, we see. This is what our challenges, our opportunities are. That means your customers. It means your prospects. It means, your sales organization. It means your delivery organization. And it also means your partners. And so if you're listening to the kind of those 5 voices, that's going to start informing you, right? And then I think you have to have a process for how you take that information, distill it down, and then, build it up into a model that works. And so for us, that means like a cross-functional launch team, right? That's represented from the team that's developing it. Traditionally, it would be considered a product engineering team, but in a services company, it's more of a solution engineering team. So you have your solution engineers that are creating the solution. You have your sales and marketing team who need to be able to say, this is how we're going to tell the story. This is how we're going to bring it to market. This is how we're going to actualize it. You have your delivery organization that needs to be, prepared and ready to then go and execute and deliver it. You may need to have industry SMEs, of course, that you're going to have to either go out or and attract or add to the team. But you basically have to put this team together. Then you have to put a financial model around it and make sure that you have the right metrics that support it to make it a good decision. And I think that seeing this done well at scale, it's really about a complete refined process that you don't deviate from. And I think that when I've seen this work well and been part of it when it works really well, it's because that discipline is there. And when it's more of let's react to this or let's react to that, that's when you can get yourself in trouble. Now, doesn't mean that in a way, this process allows you to actually react faster because you have a discipline that you can say, oh, we want to introduce something new. We want to move quickly. We want it to tie into what, maybe what ServiceNow is doing. So we want to make sure that we're ready to go. Well, you can have kind of a fast pass, through the process while still not deviating from the process. So the encouragement, of course, is to spend the time, outline that, get all the right people, and then make sure you're being great at listening, right? Listening what's going on out in the market and then applying it to your business.
So for everyone watching, that was just a masterclass in how to evaluate a business model shift. I would recommend, this will be available later. I would recommend putting that on when you go to sleep on repeat. And then while you're sleeping, that will just go into your headphones and you will learn it through osmosis. That was awesome. Thank you for
what Nate's really trying to say is that I'll bore you to death and you have a great night's sleep. So that's totally fair.
That's funny. You are not one of these people, but there are certainly people on some of my meetings where I'm like, man, this would be great in my Calm app at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
No names. Sure. No names.
Sure.
I'm just saying they exist. So I'll just tying back to what you just said. It's great. It's a great framework. And there's like the idea and the process, and then there's like executing, right? And that's where you bring in like people and you bring in change management, that word, organizational change, OCM. It's the white whale of, there are guys out there on a yacht somewhere in the Pacific that sold OCM to the nth degree and then just took the money and ran because we're all still trying to figure it out. And I just want to know, from a human level, there is a great process. You do the research and you dialogue and you listen, but then how do you empathetically, impactfully get the organization moving in the right direction and get aligned around a big shift like this? Could you just talk about how you like to think about the change management of things like this?
Yeah, it's interesting because, again, for us, empathy is a core value. And so you always want to be listening and as we talked about earlier, but you also want to be feeling it and experiencing it. And so what can happen is you get a lot of ideas, right? And then it's the question is, well, how do you prioritize them? How do you manage through them? How do you say no to people? How do you say yes? Why do you say yes? Why do you say no? What's the criteria, right? So that structure kind of gives you, and that process gives you something to fall back to, right? Well, this is our process and it didn't meet these criteria. Like it just gives you something to. And so I think though, for leaders, it starts with like innovation, right? And for us, innovation is attached to one of our core values as well. And it really is about making sure that you're, again, keeping your mind open to the possibilities of what's to come. And I think innovation, especially as like senior leaders in a business, I think that it's really important not to squelch innovation. And it can be done so, unintentionally, but it can still be done. And I think that you want to make sure that, especially in our kind of business where it needs to constantly improve because it's changing every day, the solutions are changing every day. And so I think you just have to get to a point where you accept and embrace innovation, and you have a process to ingest it. But from a human standpoint, which is what you're asking for, it's really about, encouraging it and embracing it. And then the empathy really shows up when it's not just when you accept an idea, but it's when you have to reject an idea. It's about making sure you go that extra, step and explaining, at a deep level the decision making. I think that I found that pretty much people are really reasonable, especially in a corporate environment, when you take the time to explain thinking behind the decisions that you make. And I think that when it comes to innovation, we would all love to be able to innovate on everything we do all the time. The reality is we can't. And I think that's where, leaders can get a little bit hesitant. And I think that's a mistake. I think that they should embrace it, and they should just have a really great, open, transparent, and empathetic driven process that allows them to, guide their company.
Once again, play this while you go to sleep.
You'll sleep great.
So you'll sleep great, and your subconscious will take this all in. I wish that this was a 2-hour podcast, because there's a million things I want to jump off there, but I think you gave us a really nice overview of just looking at verticalization, how to deliver industry-specific solutions users need, a process for looking at how to do that internally, how you think about rolling that out. That was awesome. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, happy to. And one last thought on this topic. You don't have to try to do everything either, right? When it comes to verticals, find one, look at your customer base, look at all the experiences that you've had. Sometimes I've heard it's an interesting situation. I've heard where companies have hesitated getting in the vertical because they don't think they have enough experience. And then on the flip side, they try to do too many. My recommendation is kind of a closing thought would be, most companies have a vertical experience or vertical expertise. Go look at the information, go look at your customer base, look at the projects you've done. You probably have it. Pick one, right? And then try it out. And then, really, really get good at it. And then you can start adding the second and the third and beyond. But, don't be intimidated by it, and don't try to do it all at once.
Pick one. That gave me a physical response, because it's like really hard. We're all, especially the leaders and the entrepreneurs, the business growers out there, you go, but there's so much opportunity. Like, pick one. We could look at this money, that's good. That's good advice. That's good advice. So where can the people find you if they want to hear more about empathetic leadership or business growth? Let them know where they can look you up.
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is the best place to that's where I'll discuss a lot of these topics, and so happy to share and continue to share. And there's so much to learn, so it's always a great experience. But LinkedIn is the best way to find me.
Great, Matt. Thank you for joining the State of ServiceNow Summit. Generous with your time and information. We're glad to have you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it.
Thanks. See ya.
Guys, oh my goodness, my mind is blown. Hey, listen, if you're like me, you probably have to go to the bathroom. So we're going to take a really quick bio break, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the State of ServiceNow Summit 2023. We are right in the middle of the day. Some great conversations so far. Hopefully you all have really enjoyed the conversations, learned a lot, felt connected with the people on a human level that we're talking to. My next guest today, you guys are, again, you're in for a real treat here. My next guest is the co-founder and CEO of Tenon. It is an incredible platform for enterprise marketing teams built on ServiceNow. And Ben has been in the game, as they say, in tech marketing for a long time. 20 years? Is that fair to say? 20 years?
I've been in that world for a little while. Yeah, about 20 years experience in that space. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
He was the CMO over at Nuvolo, just a small little company that some of you might have heard of. It's a huge job, and he took all of that experience, his decades of experience, to co-found and start this new platform that is just revolutionizing what is going on in the enterprise marketing space. So we are pumped to have Ben Person here today. I'm just going to read your session description just so everyone can know what this is about. It's called Expanding the Global Enterprise with a Unified Marketing Solution Built on ServiceNow. And this year's report, our industry report on ServiceNow, underscores the need to position ServiceNow not only as an IT platform, but a global business platform that touches every function of an organization. Newly added workflows have enhanced employee engagement and elevated customer experience. What about marketing? So despite driving substantial influence over market recognition, customer sentiment, and overall revenue growth, marketing often remains isolated from the rest of the enterprise until now. Until now. So Ben is empowering marketing teams with tools for connectivity and collaboration and enabling marketing leaders to make informed, data-driven decisions and ultimately unite and expand global enterprises. Uniting a global enterprise is tough. I'm anxious to hear how you're doing it. All right, we're going to go to you. Could you share a little bit about or anything you want to add? What did I miss?
No,
what did I
miss in the intro?
Man.
You got it, man. You got it. I love it. I love it.
Awesome. Also a native Indianapolisite?
Indianapolis. Yeah, local in Indy. Yes.
San Diegans. Sorry, that's an Anchorman reference. He's from Indianapolis, Colts fan if you can't see it. He is also a father of 3 amazing children, family man, husband. Ben Person, welcome to the State of ServiceNow Summit.
Thank you very much, Nate. Great to be here. Really excited for this opportunity to share not only with you, but with your audience and everyone attending today. So thank you for having me.
Yep, no problem. I'm just going to jump right in. It's got some questions for you, similar to the other sessions, Q&A style. Mm-hmm. Feel free to go wherever you want to go with it. So enterprise marketing, it is a loaded phrase. And those of us in the enterprise marketing space kind of go, ooh, we just kind of feel the weight of enterprise marketing when someone says that. Could you just, elaborate a little bit as you see the current state of marketing in the enterprise and how are you looking at it? What does it look like to you?
Yeah, Nate, the enterprise marketing space is actually what I think about when I think about IT back in the 90s, the early, late 80s. It's a messy organization in most enterprises. And what I mean by that is it's fragmented, it's siloed, it is dysfunctional, it is not single organization, single delivery, single execution model in most enterprises I speak with. And what that means is I love messy middle businesses. Most of my background is actually in IT, and but when I moved into a CMO role, it's interesting to see what marketing really looks like in terms of how does it operate, how does content teams operate, how do field teams operate, right? How do digital teams run? And there's a lot of similarities and a lot of overlap, but in the end, it's a business that has to run and deliver a service with an outcome and a measurement. And to me, like it's such an opportunity to improve the way these organizations run and how they deliver results.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good snapshot. I think everybody kind of resonates with the messy middle message that you said. What's interesting about messy middle is that it doesn't get less messy just because you call it messy middle. I think sometimes people say that phrase that, and you're supposed to go, oh, like I see, it's just messy. And it's like, well, actually, the messy middle needs some help. And that's kind of like what you're here to do. It's like, it's really cool and it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not an organization that ever operates on its own. I always ask like folks in IT or, other departments outside of marketing, like, do you know what marketing does? Or do you have people in marketing? And in most cases, the answer is no. No, I don't. But I see what's on our website. I see what social media we put out. I may see what's on TV commercials. I may see all the public facing things related to marketing, but no one really understands, what all goes in to what gets produced, what all goes into what shows publicly. There's a lot of baling twine and string behind the scenes to make it happen. But there's a lot of opportunity there, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of talking about marketing being isolated inside of the enterprise. It's kind of the bigger idea there. So it's interesting to me, like I read in your description, marketing, it drives market recognition, customer sentiment, overall revenue growth, but at the same time, it's like so isolated in the organization, which when you just articulate it like that, you go like, oh, that needs to change. Like, well, duh. But like, there's obviously a reason that this is the case and is pervasive throughout. So in your opinion, from where you're sitting, like what are some of the root causes of marketing's isolation, and how could someone identify that this is happening in their organization?
It's interesting. I think as a marketing organization, I think about mostly when I step back and I say, why are they isolated? Why are they on their own? I do think a lot of it is self-induced. Especially when you think about the creative folks, the brand folks, the people that just sort of want to be left alone. Let me be the creative, right? Don't get into my business. Let me just do my creative work and, the art, the design, the creative. But when you really put rubber to the road, it's marketing they're dependent on the rest of the enterprise. Like there isn't much work that goes on within marketing that doesn't touch another part of the business. And, there's so many examples, Nate, like you don't do much with the website without IT.
Yep.
You don't do a lot around, managing social to some extent without having some level of human resources involved. I think about diversity, inclusion, new hires, right? All that type of data. You think about legal and press releases. You think about new locations and facilities and branding of that and announcing that. And it's just, so there's so many ties to the rest of the enterprise that while they want to have independence, while they want to have their own, creativity and their isolation, they need the rest of the enterprise there to support them.
What are the symptoms of an isolated marketing department? So you just touched on a lot of different places in the organization that can be affected by the isolation, but what would symptoms be in the organization if you're like, man, I'm feeling isolated, but I don't know, what would that look like? How would it show up?
How would marketing feel like it's, well, I mean, if marketing would feel that they're isolated, Nate, when they are, truly finding themselves completely manually doing things to get support from other groups, right? I mean, it was always email and Slack and Teams to do my job. Like that was how we operated. It was spreadsheets. There was that type of operating model that's how work got done, or the information was stored in someone's brain. And, there wasn't standard operating processes. There wasn't any way that this is how we work day in, day out. That's the opportunity as I see it, is marketing organizations that truly find themselves feeling that they're isolated and operating that they're isolated, right? So
do you like, let's just go with I don't know, pick your favorite department. Let's just go with HR and marketing not being aligned together. You know, if that's totally the case, like it's all manual, as you're saying, and information lives in someone's head, what's a good example of a net impact on what gets put out into the world? Like, how does that actually suffer? You know, what do you see how does it hurt?
Yeah, the pain is speed and quality is your pain. You know, if I think about the interaction, and by the way, when I think about marketing, it's not just external facing marketing. It's also things like corporate communications that people forget about, right? So corp comm and marketing work very hand in hand. And in some cases, they're actually in the same organizational structure. Think about everything that HR does. Annual enrollment for benefits involves corp comm, right? I've got to communicate this, got to make sure that this is properly executed. Everyone signs up in time. Like, just there's an interlock there between the message, how it's messaged, when it's messaged, and the delivery of that for HR, just using that as that example, right? And so, you know, for us, that it's about speed and quality, and that experience that gets delivered. That experience could be an employee experience, if I use the example of annual benefits enrollment, or it's the experience that's external facing, whether it be on your social or your website or something you're experiencing from this output from marketing. So that'd be my example there.
Awesome. That's good. Speed and quality. My hunch is that answer will tie into this one, my next question. It's if marketing could, proactively break down these silos, unite the enterprise, like Superman, just pull them all together and unite them. What benefits would marketing leaders and teams and even the rest of the organization see? Like, what's the impact of lowered silos from marketing's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest benefit is going to be new transparency into how they run their business is one big one. I always say, like, take down these silos. Like, a CMO needs new visibility into how their business is running, right? And they need to see end to end how their business is running. And if it's cross-functional across departments, not only can they see how their business is running, but how about we share back how things are operating, right? I mean, we think about the black box, the silo, whatever term you want to give marketing, like, we've got to get more transparency into how is marketing delivering and showing the value. There's a ton of value that we have no idea. Just like in IT, by the way, like knowing that all this servers and infrastructure stays up because of all this hard work that IT does, there is a lot of new visibility because of what ServiceNow does to show that. Like, we need to show all that hard work and the value that marketing is delivering to ultimately elevate their role within the organization.
Yeah, that resonates. I mean, that resonates with me as a leader. I'm sure you've been in positions before where you're tempted to reduce investment or allocation just because from your perspective, you're uninformed about the true value. And then it's only when you get up to that line of pulling the trigger, someone runs into the room and goes, no. This is what we're doing. Like, look. And you go, oh, what was I thinking? Like, of course we need that thing. And you make a different decision, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And the thing that you're providing, the clarity, that's really interesting and really powerful. Probably should, like, underscore that for the folks tuning in. A larger idea that Ben is communicating here, I think it's worth taking away, is clarity inside of the enterprise, cross-functionally, is huge. It's almost everything. And I love that you and your team are, like, so bent on not just bringing a tech, but enabling clarity across departments to make marketing so much more effective and worth the investment and more valuable than it ever has been. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Nate, to add to your comment, like, marketers want to market, they don't want to have to do all the manual overhead that goes into it. And like, how do we make them enjoy the job they do and less worried about the tech? It's not about the tech. The tech just needs to work.
Yeah.
Tech just needs to work, but they need to be able to have more time back to do the job they really were hired to do. And that's to be a marketer and drive the brand, drive the revenue, drive the business. And that's a job they can do if they're more efficient, more effective, back to that speed and quality point.
I will tell the viewers something they may not know if they're new to you, is that your money is where your mouth is, because your brand and your marketing is some of the highest quality work that I have seen as a marketing person in the space. It's thoughtful, it has depth and meaning, it's flexible, it's agile, and I know that that comes with great investment and great intentionality. And so you're not just out here preaching this gospel to everybody, you're investing as well in the same thing.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Hard to do. The brand investment is longitudinal. You don't really see.
Exactly.
Well, maybe it's tough, but it's really good stuff. You're out here doing it. So my next one is kind of along the line of like looking at silos, bringing clarity into the organization. If you were to step into the role of coach for a minute, and you have so much experience in this space, so I'm sure anything you say is going to be like so valuable. So everybody listen up to what he's about to say. If you were to coach marketing leaders out there on being able to easily identify where their biggest silos are and validate that, how would you coach us to be able to do that?
Yeah, if I'm coaching a marketing leader, which is your question, around where are there opportunities for them, one, they have to get involved in terms of they have to drive these new future operating models for their business. Many marketing organizations, it's a bottoms up, the way the business runs. And unfortunately, that doesn't deliver the outcomes that most leaders should expect. I'm all for, as a marketing leader, allowing for people to have flexibility in how they execute their work. But when it comes to standard operating procedures, how marketing runs end to end, and by the way, that is cross-functionally, that top CMO, VP of marketing needs to own that, embrace that, and truly champion that in their organization. The CMOs that do it well, they own that and drive it. The ones that don't and say, I'm going to let brand do whatever they want. I'm going to let design and creative and digital, they do all whatever they want. Fields over here on their own silo. No, CMOs, VPs of marketing need to own that, embrace that, and make sure that their teams operate under standard operating procedures to drive, again, speed, quality, and how their business delivers the work that they do. And that's probably the most important thing. Because again, you can allow flexibility while still driving enterprise standards.
If you're listening out there, I just want to highlight that's a radical statement, because flexibility might as well be synonymous with chaos inside of an enterprise marketing function. Mm-hmm. Could you just articulate that again for everybody? Because I think that's a really key point.
Yeah. If you think about, if you are not driving standard operating procedures at the topmost level in your marketing organization, to your point, you're allowing a true chaos to operate within your business. And that's the right term. It's the term I use as well. And it's not benefiting anyone. It's only slowing down and impacting the ability for marketing to execute their work. Right? It'd be like allowing, just to draw the analogy to IT, it would be like allowing every server administrator, every network administrator to operate independently and not work off the same change management standard operating procedures, as an example. That is the same exact story I think of. If I'm a CMO or a VP of marketing, I should be driving enterprise standards end to end through the marketing org and cross-functionally of how that marketing org works with other departments. Otherwise, it is chaos.
Yeah, I love that. The second part, actually, what you said, works with other departments, is kind of tease up my next question. We'd love for you to coach us again. Stay in that coach role. How do you, if you're an enterprise marketing leader and you're like, okay, good, my house is in order, I got it here. Everybody's kind of following and we're united. But man alive, if I could just connect with these different departments outside of our quarterly connects, outside of our, bi-weekly check-ins that half the people opt out of 5 minutes before the meeting, which, let's just be honest, that just happens. So coach us on, if you really want to be the champion in the organization of bringing everybody together, where do you start? How do you do that?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. At least one, to your point, getting your own house in order first. I do encourage, where I would start is finding those marketing ops type roles to come together and work with the leadership team in marketing to own this together. By the way, it isn't just a top-down push down. It's a marketing operations, or the team that manages some of those standard operating procedures need to work together with the leadership to define these cohesively together, department by department. It's a workshop. It's a series of workshops, but it has to be done not only first internally within marketing, but then you need to bring your peers along with you. So if it is legal, like I always had to work with legal for every press release we put out, and LPR we did. And I pull in somebody from IT because we always have change procedures for our website. And so, but again, start with your own house, get that in order. Highly encourage you to bring marketing operations along with, or whatever title you give that role, for the folks that behind the scenes are managing the tech, managing the process. And then find those advocates within your marketing leadership team to champion with you. So, get a small group, a collective together to define it, and then help drive the execution with your own leaders, your ops folks, and then the ancillary respective areas outside of your marketing organization.
That's good. This is, painting with broad brushstrokes here, but if you're a marketing leader, is there a department that is typically more reticent to connect than others? And that's maybe where you should start to sharpen your skills?
That's a good question. I always encourage building the bridge with IT early on. I'll give you an example. The average marketing organization in the enterprise space has around 120 applications that they manage. They didn't bring any of those in likely without going through IT.
Yeah.
And so there's already sort of that friction there already, right? Yeah. Every new tool they want to bring in, it's another layer of friction. But I do encourage that bond be built early and often, and stay connected. And it's what's interesting, Nate, is I'm even seeing some of these marketing orgs building their tech team, and they're actually starting to roll up under a CIO. So you're starting to see this convergence of IT and marketing, just because of the nature of marketing. The digital marketing landscape is so technical. My background is a technologist that became a marketer, which I found very effective in running marketing as a technologist, because I'm operating off of data. And everything I do is built on data, right? I'm making decisions of every dollar I spend based on data in most cases, right? Maybe brand is the exception, right? But that's an area that marketing IT should have a strong bond together.
Love it. Love it. Just a recap for everyone listening out there. And again, thank you for sticking with us. If you're looking to start to break down silos in your organization, good place to start would be with IT, not only because they might be reticent to listen and engage, but also the efficacy of building that bridge, the net effect and the impact is going to be super high. That's a great point. We have a little extra time, and I'm going to throw a question at you that I think it'd be interesting to hear you answer. So let's just say I am an enterprise marketing leader and I'm looking at Tenon. I'm looking at the tech. I love the philosophy. Mm-hmm. Do I go get the tech and then bring it in and start pulling everybody around it? Or do I start internally trying to pave the way for the conversations and then go get the tech? How would you coach me on making the most of that kind of an investment? Because I want to do it right. I want I want to leverage it and not turn it over in 18 months, but, make it a long play. How do I do that?
Yeah. That's a great point, Nate. And as I'm having sales conversations, customer conversations, I certainly enjoy the conversations where customers have already thought about their standard operating procedures before we start. If clients haven't gone down that path yet, it's a journey they have to go on. So I always ask them, do you have standards in how you deliver? Do you have built-in standards that you operate on day to day? When the client says yes, that is a great story. At least they've started somewhere. Is it the best process? Probably not. Maybe it is. It's something we bring up. It's why we ship, by the way, with standard operating procedures in our product to help them if they don't have those. But I always prefer certainly clients that have at least that level of maturity where at least they have a starting point. Don't get me wrong. I've had conversations with clients that have 0 standard operating procedures. And in those cases, I do prefer that they go down the process of getting there first. As much as I want to sell software, they really do need to get those defined ahead of time, because otherwise they're getting a tool that's only going to be a tool that's likely not going to get them the outcome that they need. Now we have partners that we do bring in that advise on marketing best practices. Nate, I think even you guys are doing some of that as well. And so, certainly having partners that can come in and advise around best practices, how do you define those? We can do those together, and I've done that as well. So we can certainly go in, do the advisory up front, then implement the solution of Tenon. But again, that needs to be done as a predecessor to bringing in tech.
That's awesome. Hopefully that makes perfect sense. And hopefully the marketing leaders that are out there, if you're in the CMO seat, you're probably astute enough to know the tech isn't going to save you. You got to have a strong point of view on what you're trying to do and how to do it. And then something comes in to support. And I think that's great, security for you guys too, because, if you go the other way and you just grab at straws, this might help me, the value's not really going to be there. It'll plug a hole. It'll plug a hole, but it won't be the thing that it really can be. And it only probably lives with the individual who was inspired to connect with the person and bring it in. And if they move on, it's like, well, there was never any value here, forget it. But you guys provide such a valuable tool that it behooves people to just, think critically about what they're trying to achieve. And then you guys just add gasoline to the fire. It's awesome.
Yeah. People, process, and technology, Nate, is what you're talking about, right? Finding that champion within the organization, whether it be obviously we want the leader to own that in the marketing department. We want marketing ops to own it as well. But then defining the process of people now, then process, the technology is going to be the enabler in the end. But it's so critical those first two are in place.
Love it. You sound like you know what you're talking about. I don't care what they say. You know what you're doing. I'm just kidding.
I appreciate it, man.
My last question here, I'm sure there are people on this session that are really interested to learn more about you, your company, how you think about marketing, just from an advisory standpoint. The tech is amazing. How can they connect with you and reach out if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can reach out to me directly, ben.person@tenonhq.com. They can also visit tenonhq.com, TENONHQ.com. Both are easy ways. Reach out to me. Love to answer any questions that come from this, or if there's any interest in diving in deeper, certainly reach out to me.
Guys, please do take him up on that. I've had the privilege of just chatting with Ben several times, and he is full of knowledge and wisdom, even far outside of his technology, just marketing and the ServiceNow ecosystem. He's a wealth of knowledge. So please connect with him. And if you want to be inspired about your brand and take a look at a really strong brand in the space, head to their website. You'll see what I'm talking about. Look at their socials. You'll see. So Ben, thank you so much for doing the webinar. Thank you for being on. So fun to have you. So valuable. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, really fun. Thank you so much, Nate.
See ya.
All right. Take care, guys.
Guys, what is up? It's me again, Brandon. I'm the Chief Creative Officer at Forest. I'm jumping in here for Nate because I actually asked, hey, I want to talk to this next person and introduce them to the world. My mind is still a little bit blown from the session that Nate just had with Ben. Natalie, I'm sure yours is too, but I'll just go ahead and introduce you guys.
Yeah.
This is Natalie Tollefson. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Tollefson, you got it.
That's awesome. And I was going to introduce you in like the formal way, but I'm going to actually introduce you like in a different way, like in a little bit of a story. So for those of you that don't know Natalie, Nate and I met her for the first time 2 knowledges ago at ServiceNow, flagship event Knowledge. And I remember you're sitting at a booth and I remember users and lots of conference attendees walking by. And I remember watching you engage with these people and talk to them. And I just remember going, man, she is super helpful. Look at how she's like listening to them. Look at how she's answering their questions. And just going to myself in that moment, these are the kinds of people that I feel like ServiceNow users really love to get around. Not people that are just like obsessed with just talking about their solution or what their offering is. But I just remember you listening. And so when we were putting together this report, one of the things that kept coming to the surface that everyone's hearing about and going to hear more about is how these ServiceNow users want more guidance. And so I remember we were curating our list of who we wanted to have on the summit. And I remember going, we got to get Natalie. She's like the ultimate guide. People trust her. She's good at listening. So I'm really thankful for you being here. Tell everybody who you are, who you work for, and what your role is.
I think you just wanted me because I bought you that drink one time. No, I'm just kidding. I love it. Yeah.
We did have a fun dinner with the group that night. That's right. That was fun.
We did.
Yeah.
It was cool. Yeah. Thank you, Brandon. Thanks for having me here. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet everyone. My name's Natalie Tollefson. I work for Optimum Healthcare IT. I'm the Director of Service Delivery, specializing in employee workflows.
Amazing. And obviously that, Optimum Healthcare IT, that's pretty cool. I mean, it sounds like that's super specific. It sounds like to me, not your average ServiceNow partner, right?
Yeah. Optimum Healthcare IT is it's pretty special. It's a place that I've really called home, and we're actually an elite ServiceNow partner. We're the only elite partner within the ecosystem that focuses exclusively within healthcare provider organizations, which is pretty awesome. And I know you know this, Brandon, but my roots are in healthcare. I grew up in human resources, working with physicians and clinical providers. That's my background. Those are my roots, and just done a variety of different roles within that space, anywhere from employee relations to drug and alcohol abuse programs for clinical providers to leading HR technology and PMO with some pretty sizable digital transformation initiatives.
Crazy.
And I know it's just been quite a journey, and it's really what led me into the consulting space, honestly, because I've always had a passion for making an impact, always had a passion for process improvement and technology. And so that led me into consulting with ServiceNow.
I feel like healthcare too. Wow, what a time. I mean, obviously you could say what you want politically about the state of our healthcare, but to know there are people behind the scenes making these organizations, making it work is really great to know.
Totally. And, it's insane because I was doing a lot of research over the past several months and just reading some of those analyst reports like McKinsey and different ones out there that are saying, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of clinical providers, like a shortage of that amount within the healthcare system. I mean, burnout is a real issue. Labor inflation costs, real issue. Technology and hyperautomation is how this country's healthcare system is going to survive. So it feels
if there's ever a time
powerful.
for optimizing healthcare, right? It's now.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, before we get into speaking of analyst reports, we're going to talk about ROI because that was one of the themes that we heard in this report coming to the surface. We've got users almost begging, saying, hey, help me prove ROI upwards, downwards, sideways. Before we get into that, tell us about you, the human. At Forest, we're all about humanity, right? None of this makes sense. None of this matters if we're not actually helping each other, getting to know each other. Who are you when you're not working? Tell us a little bit about Natalie, the person.
It's really not that exciting, but I'll tell you anyways. Yeah, I'm actually a mom of four. So I have three boys and one girl, ranging from 4 years old to 15 years old. And
you said that's not exciting?
I mean, I guess it depending on, what gets you excited, but
yeah, that's awesome.
I'm a homebody for sure. 4 different schools, so that's pretty insane. But yeah, I just spend a lot of family time. I love hanging out with the kids, playing games, watching them do their sports. You know how it is. You have kids.
It's awesome. So guys, everybody listening in, you not only have a world-class technology consultant here, you have a world-class mom, a wife, right? You're married.
Yeah.
So this is awesome. I love hearing that. I'm sure you probably got, when you have kids, you probably have so many stories. We won't talk about all that today, but you guys will have a chance to connect with Natalie and her LinkedIn information and stuff later. But we're going to get into this session. Really excited about this. We're going to talk about ROI. Natalie, I've got a couple questions for you. Obviously, you read through the report, right? It's a pretty big topic right now. I would love if you could give us a little context around why you're passionate about this topic of ROI. Why is it so relevant in ServiceNow at this moment?
Yeah, no, I was really excited to see this topic come up on the report, especially as that #1 area that users need. First of all, what I find really fascinating, Brandon, is that when you talk about ROI, it really has very little to do with the actual technology. When you think about it, proving ROI is really more about people. It's about influence. It's gaining that buy-in. It's moving hearts and minds. And you can have all the numbers, to tell that, make that compelling business case. But if you're not engaging those stakeholders, and you're not empowering people to really believe that story, then your business case isn't going to go anywhere. So it's really a lot about people and storytelling.
That's awesome. I love that. Obviously, I'm a marketing guy. For us, we're obsessed with this whole idea of storytelling. And it's cool because you don't think of that typically as a skill, you think technology consulting, especially ROI, you think math, but really it's about, you said moving hearts and minds. I think that's awesome. And I love how you talk about empowering stakeholders. For everyone tuning in out there, I would love for you to shed some light on what would qualify as a stakeholder inside of the process of getting ServiceNow investment.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because a lot of organizations, a lot of average, users see ServiceNow as just an IT ticketing tool, but it's obviously so much more than that, right? It's an enterprise platform. It's extremely powerful and it stretches across the business. And so, if you're someone who's in the IT department, you're on the ServiceNow platform team, like the stakeholders that I'm talking about are people in your business, the ones who are running the day-to-day, whether it be HR or facilities or procurement or, there's all of those different operations, those different departments that are running the business. Those are the stakeholders that have a lot to gain from ServiceNow, but they may not even be aware of the solutions and the capabilities that are available to them.
Do you feel like sometimes, let's just say from the partner perspective, do you feel like a lot of focus is put on seeing maybe the C-suite as the stakeholders, but really it sounds like you're saying it's the boots on the ground. It's the people that are more in the day-to-day that are the ones that you want to, when we talk about moving those hearts and minds?
Right. Yeah, I think it's both, right? I think when you're talking about, when you're doing planning, and that's when a lot of the ROI conversations come up, right? You're doing some budgeting planning, you're looking at the roadmap of the organization, you're crafting strategic goals.
Yep.
That's when you really want to reach that C-suite or that VP or director level stakeholder, because they have the decision-making power, they're more strategic, they usually own the budget, they're really looking at that big picture impact and what the ROI is going to be. But then, when you get into the details of like, what does it mean to implement? What does this mean in terms of change for the organization? Getting that buy-in from the end users and the boots on the ground, like you said, is just as important.
And those are the people that they're the ones that are hungry for that ROI, right? They're saying, hey, equip me so I can actually champion this, right?
Oh yeah, because they're the ones that are suffering.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to be so bleak about it, right? But
no, that's great. Yeah.
It's true. Like, those are the people that are doing the work. They're the ones that are like working late hours. They're, you know, fumbling through manual processes. Like, that's where you really need the buy-in. That's where you want to empower them.
That's a word I feel like, come on, like, you know, business, enterprise businesses suffering. Nobody suffers, but really, you know, enterprise sized businesses, a lot of times that's an actual thing that these people are, they're actually suffering, and
for sure,
they're tasked with all these things. And so, man, that's a great way to put it. It's almost like, if I could summarize, people aren't sure who to look for, maybe start by finding the people that are suffering.
Yeah. And that goes to, I think, one of the key areas of, like, you know, how do you prove ROI? Well, you have to investigate. You have to, like, be curious and find those people that are doing those jobs and ask those questions. Like, you can't make assumptions, you know, when you're getting into something like that. Yeah.
Here's a question. I think this will be helpful for everybody that's listening. First of all, thank you everybody that's tuned in, that's listening. Natalie's crushing it. Here's my question. What advice do you have for a ServiceNow platform owner, one of those champions who they want to get stakeholders on board there, or is even struggling to get buy-in from the business to expand their use of ServiceNow? How would you coach them? Let's say I'm that person. How would you coach me in that way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, you know, it starts with really doing your research. You got to kind of put your investigator hat on. I don't know if you prefer CSI or Inspector Gadget. Either one's good, but, like, you really got to put that mindset on of, I need to be curious. I want to seek to understand. You got to shed those assumptions. You're not here to bring solutions yet. At this stage in the game, it's about relating, right? It's about having empathy. So I always recommend that platform owners are going out to the business. They're meeting with the leaders to see what they care about, like what motivates them, what their goals are, but then also meeting with boots on the ground to understand, you know, what their pain points are and what areas are going to add the most value.
I love hearing that it's not time for that yet. It's we've got to start with just empathizing, which is something that we realize in this space sometimes, you know, with IT specifically, you know, or, you know, even workflows in general, it can be very left brain. It's hard to think that way, especially when a lot of the enterprises and the partners that are selling, they're very sales heavy organizations. It's almost like there's no time for empathy, but you're saying you can't afford to not take time to listen and be empathetic.
100%, because you don't want to go down that path and then realize when you get to the end of it that you weren't solving for the right problem. Like, that would be the worst situation, right? And I've been in this game for a while. I do a lot of, you know, pre-sales conversations, discovery conversations. Yeah. And it's funny because I'll talk with IT folks who are like, well, we want to implement this and this and this for the business. And it's like, well, that's great. You know, I agree. Those are great solutions. But what is the problem that you're trying to solve? Like, let's really define that really clearly and understand, like, what business outcome that your business is looking to achieve. And then we can talk about solutions after we're clear on what that is.
So I'm pulling out a nugget here. If you want to equip users of the platform with ROI, you've got to stop and listen, and you've got to be really good at listening, because unless you can get them to identify those problems, you can't really guide them along into the next step.
Yep. Absolutely. Awesome. And you want to build trust. If you're going to be on the journey with your business, you want to build that trust. You want to, you know, get in the trenches a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So I've got my little notes here. Investigate. That was the thing that you said. That was the first thing that you said you would do. What else?
So the next thing that I would do, once you feel like you have a good understanding of what your stakeholders' needs are and what success feels like for them, it's really about captivating the stakeholders. So what does that mean? Well, that means take all the data that you have and getting data. That's another thing I didn't mention before, but that's a really important part of this captivate process. You know, it's great to talk about theoretically what a solution can do and what impact it can make, but to actually put numbers to that and to tell a story around that that is very relatable to your customer and to your, your users, that's where you're really going to get people to listen. So that has to do with getting into the weeds, really understanding how long does it take to fulfill these requests? How much downtime is happening within your systems and what impact is that causing? Asking all those questions, getting the data, getting stories from people. Stories are everywhere. You just gotta ask, everyone's got them. But putting all that together in a really compelling narrative to tell that bigger picture story, that's what's going to start to win the hearts and minds, like I said before, because people can relate and they can see how they're going to be impacted by that.
Wow. Do you feel like this is a good time when you talk about the story part, right? Do you feel like this is a good place when maybe case studies or success stories from other projects come in handy? So even if you're a partner, whether you're a partner or you're a platform owner, let's just say inside of a massive enterprise, you come alongside, you've investigated, right? You've empathized, you know there are 3 problems that they're facing. You're saying, hey, this company we did this for over here, take this success story and go share this with the CFO, or go share this with, so you're equipping them with other stories even of how you guys have helped maybe another enterprise overcome the same problem.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you're a user on the ServiceNow platform, you're most likely either talking with ServiceNow directly, or you have a partner, or you're looking for a partner to support your journey. And, there's a ton of stories out there. I mean, I was just talking with a colleague the other day about a really compelling story within their former healthcare organization, where I'll just do a quick example, Brandon. The use case was nurses. They were onboarding nurses. And after they started on day 1, it was taking up to 14 days to get their IT equipment set up, their laptop, their tablets,
which they need. They need right away.
They needed to treat patients. It was costing $1.2 million a year just for nurses. Imagine what that's like for physicians and like other administrative professionals and clinical professionals. I mean, the business case was there. And so, that's an example. There's a lot of studies out there. There's case studies. There's, and then you have the data within your own organization that I'm sure is going to obviously connect with your own stakeholders.
That's amazing. Even in our world, right? We're more in like the creative strategy world, growth strategy. We talk a lot about a key element in storytelling is showing people what's on the line if they don't make this change. So you have to show them, you can't just show them, this is the positive state that is possible, right? The art of the possible, which it sounds like that's exactly what you're saying. You also have to show them, here's what's going to cost you to not change. And when you can quantify and say, would you like to keep throwing $2.1 million away a year to not change? Or would you like to have us guide you along? Right? Like I'm going, where do I sign?
No, I mean, it's like, and just to take that a little bit further, I was reading a study the other day that the cost of physician turnover, and again, I'm using healthcare examples because that's my jam, but the cost of physician, the cost of physician turnover, it's like between $500,000 to $1 million per physician. Like that's revenue that you can tap into. That's cost savings that an organization can tap into. We have to include that picture. But then you also have the human element, which is another point that, you make really well. And, how does that impact patient care? Like everyone listening to this call has either been a patient or has a loved one that's been a patient and probably a rather serious, diagnosis or something. Like you care about that impact, and everything that we do on the healthcare IT side, it actually impacts the patient, more or less. And people need to understand, that it's not that many degrees of separation between you and the patient. So
you talk about, just hitting. I always say, hit them right in the emotions. People are emotional. We're humans. We're empathetic, right?
Yeah. When
you can help, not just provide that left brain metrical ROI, but also that more internal, hey, like life, speaking of healthcare, life is on the line here. for the
Right.
businesses that don't make these changes, that don't transform. That's powerful. So you're saying, this is awesome, by the way. I love this because I'm a huge storytelling nerd. I believe that storytelling is the lifeblood for communicating complex ideas in a way that sell, whether you're selling, whether you're selling a car
Right.
or you're selling digital transformation. So let me sum up what you're saying here. Partners, if you're on here listening, you need to equip the users that you are working with the stories, the data, the metrics, all of that stuff to continue to sell. And then if you're a user on here and you're listening, you're a ServiceNow platform user, and you work, whoever you're working with, maybe it's a rep, maybe it's partners, you need to ask for those things to continue to sell up and to sell, side to side. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll even add one more thing, Brandon. Like,
Okay.
we talk about in this example of patient care and how that impact is there. But the other way to really, influence your stakeholders from a selling position is by talking about burnout, by talking about the real issues that people are experiencing, even within the administrative side of organizations.
Yeah.
I mean, I've burned out of a job before because it was just, it wasn't optimized, or, it wasn't as efficient, spending way too many hours. And I think a lot of folks that are listening are seeing that within their peers. And if you can use technology, if you can use automation to make people's day-to-day better, why wouldn't you? Like, that's a huge selling point.
That's awesome. So you're coaching me, right? You're giving me a couple things. I've got to investigate. I'm going to seek to understand. I'm going to try to identify those problems and the strategic goals. I'm going to show empathy, right? That's the first thing, investigate. And you've got captivate. This one's my favorite one so far, just because I just resonate with it. You got the storytelling, you've got quantifying ROI, demonstrating the potential improvements, the art of the possible we talked about. Are there any other? We've got investigate, captivate. Is there anything else you would coach me to do?
Yeah, there's one more that I think is really important. I think a lot of people forget to do this sometimes when they're on this journey, and that's to empower. So, you might be a platform owner, you might be a user, and you're trying to sell the value of ServiceNow to the business. Well, this is just the beginning. Once the business starts to listen, once they start to really understand the impact that this can have, you got to empower them to own that story, to really be the hero of that story to the rest of their organization, because they got skin in the game.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are going to either win or lose based on the direction of how this goes. And so really coming alongside them in a service-oriented manner, really helping support their journey on continuing to sell within their organization and getting that buy-in, getting adoption, getting people to participate and engage in the implementation process, which is a big undertaking. You got to empower those stakeholders to really own and lead.
And that's, I think that's awesome, because this is what we heard in the report. People they want guided through this. The platform owners need someone to empower them. They're actually asking for it. They're saying, hey, you can't just implement this thing for me and then be gone and be done. Like, we need guidance here. And I think that that's awesome that you've seen this for years now, as long as you've worked in the space. I just think that's awesome. All right. I mean, my mind is blown. I'm sure everybody listening, I've got this little book of notes. Obviously you guys can see that I love the color orange here, but I'm taking notes over here. Let me see here. Let's do a little recap. So we got investigate, captivate, and empower, those three things. So if you're taking notes, I asked Natalie, what advice do you have for platform owners or a champion who wants to get stakeholders on board or is struggling to get buy-in? You got to investigate, you got to captivate, you got to empower. I love to repeat things because that's how you memorize things. That's how you make them memorable. Investigate, captivate, empower. I would love it now if you could, we've got a couple minutes left here. If you could help us maybe avoid some pitfalls around executing this process, what would you say is typically the most challenging part of this for people, right? Where are those pitfalls or landmines?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think when I think about pitfalls, I've seen these things happen so many times, quite honestly. And, there's a couple that come to mind. One is making sure that you have a strategy in place, like once you get the ROI and you got that commitment from the stakeholders, again, like I said, that's just the beginning. But then you got to implement those changes and having a strategy. I mean, you know, Brandon, that, and everyone on here knows, the ServiceNow platform is super powerful. There is so much there. It is not the kind of thing that you want to try to implement the entire thing in one go. You know, you got to find an implementation partner who can really help you break down the major goals and objectives into achievable, realistic phases and chunks, because they're going to help you sequence that. They're going to help you identify those dependencies, how much time is needed from your organization to get that done. So having that strategy in place can take some time, but it's really important to have a successful outcome.
I wish
so that's one thing I would say. Yeah.
That's yeah. Anything else? And then we'll wrap it up here because my mind is.
So there's one more thing, Brandon, I think is important, which is adoption. The last thing you want to do is go through all of this effort and time. And, you know, you could craft the perfect solution and go live with it.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't get adopted, then what's the point? You know, that would be terrible. So,
and it happens probably a lot, right?
Oh my gosh, it totally does. And I know this for a fact because the organizational change management services that are needed, or that capability that is needed within any organization to do a digital transformation initiative, those are the most often the last thing to come to mind. It's very overlooked and undervalued, yet it is so important to have that in place and to be very thoughtful and strategic throughout your entire journey, not just once you're implementing, but even before in the ROI process.
I'll give a quick parallel because I'm always trying to find ways for where the creative world merges with this world of digital transformation. We are more alike than people think. It's the same. A lot of times large companies come to us to execute a rebrand. They find a leak in the business and they realize we need to like rethink our brand, our positioning strategy. And that trickles all the way down into messaging, logo. You can imagine all the things. And at the end of the day, you can do all of that and rework all of it and it'd be really good and thoughtful and strategic. But if you don't have the change management piece of it and the team in place that can implement it, you just wasted a lot of money for something that you're not going to make the most out of.
Sure.
I hate it. It's the worst. And it sounds like it's the same. So I could keep talking for a couple hours, but we have so many other things to get to. I want you to share two things. I want you to talk about what's happening over at Optimum right now, because I think you guys have some exciting things going on. What's happening over there? What are you guys working on? And tell everybody where they can get to know you or connect with you.
Yeah, awesome. No, Optimum is doing a lot of exciting things. First of all, just in case anyone's not aware, Optimum is a full service, consulting organization, staffing organization. We do advisory services, technology implementations in cloud, ServiceNow, Epic, EHR. But anyways, a couple of the things that our ServiceNow practice is working on specifically, a big one that's come up is clinical device management. I mean, you're probably aware, Brandon, you guys work so closely with ServiceNow that the healthcare life sciences applications that are, have launched last year, I mean, those are making big waves. We had the privilege of doing the first ever clinical device management implementation for a hospital, and we're getting a ton of interest. And so we are just really gearing up to do a lot of assessments in that area, really looking at, customers that are on either new Volo or Connective, which is sunsetting next year, ways that we can help transition them into a fuller leveraging the ServiceNow platform. So that's a big one.
Wow.
Yeah. And then another one that I'm really excited about because it's in my area is this provider onboarding space. I mean, there's so much ROI with that, like I said, and I'm really passionate about digging into that story and painting that picture. And so we're actually just launched a provider onboarding assessment where we'll go out, document your entire business process, current state, craft a design for future state, and then put that business case together for HR and IT leaders within healthcare so that they can go tell the story, just like what we're talking about, and really, get that buy-in to transform provider onboarding. There's so much value there.
That's amazing. I love how excited you are. I'm a very enthusiastic person, as I'm sure everybody can gather. And when you see someone excited about this kind of stuff, first of all, there's a lot in ServiceNow to be excited about right now, which I think is great.
Yeah.
So I think that's so cool. Where can the people that are here on this call, or maybe watching this later on, where can they connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, you guys. So
Okay.
reach out to me, Natalie Tollefson. I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to shoot me a direct message. But otherwise, go to OptimumHealthcareIT.com. That's our organization's website. If you are a healthcare provider organization or you work with healthcare provider organizations, we would love to talk to you. We've got a ton of experts in-house who have a lot of great value to share. So I hope that I get to meet a lot of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, those of you from the ecosystem that have just sat through and took copious amounts of notes. Wow. We'll give a round of applause for Natalie. Natalie, thanks for being here. Guys, this concludes our session with Natalie. We're going to take a quick break. We've got some fun stuff coming up. Natalie, thanks again for being on. And everybody, make sure you connect with her on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
See you, everybody.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the State of ServiceNow Summit. We just had a great session with Natalie about ROI. I hope that was really valuable for you. I really enjoyed talking to her. I think you're really going to like my next guest here. My friend Kadir, Özbayram, is joining us today from Inspire. And Kadir has a long and storied history in IT and in technology. He has been all over the world for decades, building systems for enterprise organizations, building applications. He's extremely talented. He's an entrepreneur. He's a family man. The list goes on about Kadir. He happens to be a friend of mine. And every time I sit down to talk with Kadir, we have dinner or something, I learned something new about business or technology or ServiceNow, about leading people, about business partnership, because he has a business partner named Klaus that has helped, that they started this company together. He's just a brilliant human being that all of you need to know. If you don't follow him on LinkedIn, go follow him right now. And without further ado, my German colleague, Kadir Özbayram, welcome to the State of ServiceNow Summit.
Thanks very much, Nate. I don't know what to say with this opening for those warm words. I think it's a little bit too much. I think I didn't expect that. So thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. It's all true. Real quick, before we get into the meat of your session, and your session today is, how users can think about, or how partners can align solutions to users' needs. That's kind of like the gist of today's session, and really building customer trust as well. Before we get into that, I know I gave an intro, but for people that are not familiar with your company and what you do, just give a little intro, like, who are you? What are you doing at your company? What is your company about? And just tee us up with that.
Let me try to find a couple of things which are new to you as well, right?
Okay.
And
yeah.
So you can create my full psychological profile, if that makes sense. Of course, I'm born in Cologne. I have a Turkish background. I was born as an introverted boy. So over time, I became an ambivert guy, right? So because I'm not an extroverted guy, it depends on the situation. So I'm playing that. So I appreciate silence. I appreciate structure, especially that German process-oriented thinking. It helps us a lot, right? So I love quality. I like quality kind of things. And I'm looking for new experiences. And I'm very kind and keen to share those experiences with the people I love, because I think that is what counts in life, right? So I'm not
money driven. Money is not the goal. I think money is an enabler for us. So I have a long history of working. You know, I basically started as I was 14 years old during my school trials. You know, I trained people in Taekwondo, so I have the second black belt done. But I stopped.
I didn't know that.
Exactly, that's why I'm bringing that up, right?
Whoa, maybe I need to rethink some of these questions here, because I didn't know you had that going on. Maybe...
Hang on, it's getting better. I had at very early stages as well sales experience. You know, I sold pens, I sold pots, I sold knives, but not to the mafia, right? So, you know, it's the kitchen knives. You know, I went basically from door to door, you know, to the people I know, and I sold them. You know, I was, I don't know, 15, 16 years old at the time. Yeah. So it's all those different experiences. I worked in a retail, you know, shop and so on. So, but you can see that as well. I became a musician with 17, though, you know, I started with 4 or 5 singing, doing my own songs. But I think I had 20 years of semi-professional music career as well, basically played every weekend, you know, from 50 people to, I don't know, 15,000 people. So we had everything. I played with the Philharmony of Cologne. And all those experiences, I think we gathered over time, you know, helped us as well to create the company. But in my professional life, you know, after my studies, I ended up in the central research department of a big pharmaceutical company, a big corporation. I'm a corporate guy as well, with over 120,000 people, doing research on nanoparticles, right? But I always had a heart for IT. So I had a unique opportunity in 2001 to move into IT and started there really completely basics. First level support, second level support. And over time, the job became global. And I got in touch with EA in 2008. So my boss at that time, he didn't want to include me in that project. I said, look, EA. And at that time in Google, there was not much information. I said, look, enterprise architecture, that is the next big thing in IT, right? I need to know that. I need to learn that. And you know, I found a way to squeeze myself into that, and you know, did very successful projects in that area, and got hired in 2010 by a software vendor in Austin, Texas, you know, and worked there for 5 years. And that company got acquired by another company. They fired me. I was the most expensive resource in Europe. So, and then Klaus called me and said, look, Kadir, now it's the time to create a company, right? Because a couple of months before, you know, we had to stop in Jamaica together with Klaus, and we were thinking about the concept, about the solution. And you will not believe it, we had the idea to create a solution like ServiceNow, plus the IP we have in enterprise architecture transformation management. So, and after we had the decision to say, okay, let's create that company, we started our due diligence and said, is there a platform where we can develop our IP, right? So we don't want to be a platform developer. We want to be an IP developer. And so we started doing the due diligence and came up with ServiceNow. And at that time, ServiceNow just created the store, right? Just did an update to the Geneva UI. So it became better, you know, from a user experience as well. So that's where we started. So anyway, so to wrap up that story, who is Inspire? In the end, I think we are a top innovator, as you can see. We're pretty proud on that. Accordingly to Financial Times, we are one of the 1,000 fastest growing companies. We are, I don't know, Business Punk, a very best, I don't say the best place to work, but one of the better places to work, right? We are a top ServiceNow partner, and partnership is, of course, very, very important. And we are creating exclusive applications on the ServiceNow platform for enterprise architecture management, for visual diagram modeling, to support enterprises to do their, you know, enterprise transformation. Our team is unique. I would say at Inspire, we have very smart people. We call ourselves the La Familia. We got that name basically in Punta Cana, you know, as the people who served us said, because we have been so many people, they said, oh, La Familia, and we like that. And this is our spirit. We have a very flat hierarchy, you know, and you know that as well. We don't call ourselves with Klaus CEO or president, something like that. I think that is not important. We like to be part of the team. Of course, we show the beat, the vibe, the direction where the company is going, but we're part of the team and working together. So I think to wrap that up, that's basically who I am and what inspired us.
That was fantastic. That was fantastic. There were so many things in there that I didn't know, which is awesome. And when you said that they were based out of Austin, Texas, the corporation that you worked for, I just had this picture of you in a cowboy hat doing line dancing.
I was very close to buy some booth. I was, those $700, $800 booths. I had them. Yeah. I wear them for a couple of minutes, and I said, "Okay, I'm not a cowboy. I'm too soft for those hard boots." So,
not too soft. That's funny. I can picture you in those, bringing them back to Germany and wearing them around town. People like, what are those?
No way.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining. That's such a good overview. If you're not hip to Inspi yet out there in the viewership, please go check them out. They're doing some fantastic work. One thing that, one reason why I wanted you to have a chance to talk to people today is because you guys, you're building products, and products have to come, right from user needs. And that's kind of the theme of this session. And one thing that in our report this year, a theme that came up was that users are looking for partners to come alongside them and help them on their journey to success or reaching their goals. And I was just curious, what does coming alongside users mean to you? And how are you working to do this at Inspi?
ServiceNow is a great platform, and I think they're solving a lot of customer problems, but it's becoming now so big that ServiceNow is relying on those partners. It's a fantastic platform, and they have like HR modules, PPM, you name it, that, right? So, but there is a big difference, I think, on the market to say, is it a standard commodity thing I'm doing, or is it best of breed? In the end, when I'm running my company, I want to be better than the competition, right? So I need best of breed. Look, HR, marketing, and so on, sales, those are commodity things for me. And I will use a solution on the market, which is, standard. I don't want to reinvent the wheel for HR. But there are companies out where their core competency is HR. So they need best of breed solutions. So they will develop something. And when I look into our customers, we have close to 400 customers, and they are in different industries, and they want to go beyond what the competition does. They want to become the industry leaders, like we want to be in our area. And they need a partner who can leverage the ServiceNow, the platform, and bring in the IP, which ServiceNow doesn't have on that degree. And I think beginning of this year, as we were in Las Vegas for the sales kickoff with ServiceNow, and Bill McGromet said, look, it's really the third leg of the table or of the chair, right? So that the partners are very, very important. That really emphasizes exactly the importance of those partners. Look, I can go so far with a specific topic, and when I have to develop as well the platform and everything which is around that, I can't focus on the real IP. But the partners can leverage the platform and build exactly that layer, which makes it very unique. And this is, I think, why customers, and in your survey, are looking exactly for those kind of partners and say, I have the platform, I understand how far I can bring it, but I need that IP and that additional application. And it's not just a tool, it's really a solution they're looking for to provide them end-to-end visibility into their problem and solve that and bring it to the next level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good. And so just to restate what you're saying there, coming alongside users to you is taking something that is readily available, but building on top of it in a way that really speaks to their needs and that actually empowers them beyond what they could just have access to in the open market.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. Well, what's interesting about that is in order to do that, you have to understand what users need. So if you're going to create IP, and you know this better than anybody because you're a product company, if you spend time and resources creating IP that nobody wants, that's bad business and that's bad investment, just to put it plainly. But it seems as though you guys have done a really good job of understanding users' needs, understanding what's available at the base layer and what IP needs built on top of it to bring to the open market. And I was just curious a little bit of could you explain the importance to you and Inspire of understanding those needs to build, and then share with the viewers, how do you and your team go about understanding what that IP layer needs to be? How do you take something that's out of the box and make it the next level and know that it's going to resonate?
I think it's very simple. Look, if I sell you a 911, I think you would really appreciate that, right?
I was looking at them yesterday. They're on my Instagram. That's one of my favorite cars. Yeah,
exactly. So, but if I sell you a 911 or you're living in the jungle or in the desert, I think that really absolutely doesn't make sense, right? So it is really to understand what you need, where you're coming from. So, and when I'm having that conversation as a sales guy with you, I should know where you're living, what the weather conditions are, what's the temperature, and so on. Where do you want to go from A to B? How do you want to use your car, right? So it is exactly that. I need to have that understanding, right? So, and then I can recommend you get a Jeep, a Toyota, a Hummer H1, who can deal with those high temperatures, and you're not sinking in the sand with your 911 after a couple of miles, right? So, and I think in the end, it's a consultant, it's a business analyst mindset. So I have to understand really what your problem is. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but most customers, they don't even know their problems. And if you go in as the consultant, it's very important that you are just not making the blah, blah, blah and talking about the things and you're doing all that MBA kind of magic. I think important is that you know exactly and have been in that position of the customer before. So if I have lived in the jungle or in the desert, I exactly know your requirements. And you say, yeah, Kadir, I need to transport some stuff. But I will say, look, if you do that, you need those inches of tires on your car, and you need V8, V12, whatever. Otherwise, you can't progress, right? So it's not going fast. You need exactly that kind of thing. And I think that is important when you're creating that product and talking to your customers. You really need to understand them. You need to know them by heart. You need to know exactly where they are currently with the mindset, what's the problem they want to solve, and then you can come in with innovation, right? So if I don't know your problem, what you want to solve, I can't innovate. I can have a lot of inspiration, but as long as I don't have a problem, it's like, imagine we would have a source for energy, unlimited energy in the world. We would not have that problem to create all those power plants and atomic, whatever you call that. We don't need that. That's not a problem we have to solve. And it's exactly the same in the business we are in. So we have to understand, we have been a practitioner together with Klaus and the team as well. We have fantastic people who exactly have been in that position. And so we can go and innovate, and then you have the inspiration, you have the ideas, and then you can bring them and create that solution, which then, fits to the requirements of the customer.
Oh, it's good. That's really good. And to summarize your analogy, with the car, I think one thing that stood out in there is you're asking a lot of questions, and you asked, are you in the jungle? Are you in the mountains? That kind of thing. In addition to asking questions of users, how do you and Klaus and the rest of your team get information from the market? You mentioned at the beginning, you're very focused on due diligence. You're wise businessmen who do not want to make bad investments or uninformed investments and take unnecessary risks. So is it just asking questions to users that gives you this information? Are there other ways that you go about understanding what users need?
Well, of course, there is the aspect of doing the market analysis, doing competitive analysis, and seeing where the market is going in general. So it needs just more than having that experience. And, you could be on a theoretical level one of the best guys, and, it's academical. And on the academical level doesn't mean that you can bring that as well into the practice on the practical level. And that is, on the one hand, of course, we understand the theoretical aspect, but then it is go into the practical world and make that work, the theoretical stuff. And I think that's a big challenge with all those frameworks which are around the world, which doesn't provide the value when you just implement them. There is just more to do that. And it's the end-to-end thinking. So how do we do that? We're talking to our customers. We're talking a lot to our customers. We have our regular sessions with them. And of course, if you look to our process and talking about the Pandora's box, which we are just opening, you need customer success management. You need to have the mindset to make a customer successful. Then even your sales team, I would call our sales team as well as business analysts, they go in and ask exactly the right questions to understand what is it the customer wants to achieve. And then we can go in exactly and do the reverse engineering and say, okay, this is what success looks like. What do we need to do to exactly achieve that? So that's what we're doing.
That's great. I'm taking a note here that just to summarize what you said, for the other partners out there looking to make sure that you're building in the right thing and learning the right things. Two things that you said in your story there, or just your explanation: customer focus. So you have to be obsessed with your customer throughout the whole organization, and then a spirit of curiosity. And that might seem obvious to you, but I think to a lot of people out there, embedding curiosity and starting with the assumption that you don't have the right answer, that you got to go find the information, and being curious and instilling curiosity throughout your whole organization. Just having been exposed to you and your team, the most curious people, we sit down at dinner or something and tell me about your life. What do you like to do? You're very always mining for the gold in another person. And so I think a takeaway here for other partners watching or listening is focus on your customer, be relentless about understanding them, and challenge your team to always be curious, no matter the level in the organization or the role. Because you mentioned there's sales, there's product, there's customer success people, and even you and Klaus as well. So was that a good summary of what you were saying?
It is. And, I'm an architect, right? And I'm thinking in terms of models. And where I'm starting is really the vision. What's the vision you want to achieve? And sometimes it's maybe too high level if you are in customer interaction, but the company has a vision, right? And you have to understand what's their mission, what's their goals, their strategies to achieve that. And then that is something you can then connect to the business model and understand exactly what needs to be done, where are the risks, where are the opportunities to provide that. Until you have those information, I think you can't really help the customer, and this is, I think, a mind change we need in the market. They go in and have their 200 questions, 300 questions in the RFP and say, can you do this? Can you do that? To do what? What is it you want to achieve? I can say if you can change the color, if you can export, if you can import, if you're ISO certificated, blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't solve your business problem. And this is something which requires trust as well, right? On both sides. And we had customers. I have a big German car manufacturer. We had just the feeling that the mutual trust we have, that doesn't exist, right? And we didn't solve that, our solutions, because we have big doubts that they will be successful. We live from success. We sell success, but if the customer is not able to become successful, that will be a very bad reputation for us. And this is why we are very, very hard. No, it's not about the money. It's really about success. And that's why we are here, as Inspire.
Well said. That was great. So in the last few minutes here, I'm gonna press you for some pragmatic advice. Because in these sessions, I often attend webinars, and sometimes I feel like there's a lot of theory in webinars, or even live events. There's a lot of theory, and I think a lot of people enjoy talking about theory. But I think what is also valuable in tandem with theory is pragmatic advice. And I would love for the viewers of this session to walk away from this session with some pragmatic advice from you, maybe a process or a framework that they could kind of walk away with. So my question to you is, and this might be putting you on the spot here, so I know it's okay if you can't fire this off, but just give us your best framework or process. Could you help us, give us some simple process that you use at your company for understanding the customer needs that are so valuable in helping you build something that they really want and trust you to build? So just a simple process that you use yourself or your team.
Just on the fly now. I think I have 7-8 points in my brain. So let's see if we can order them in the right structure. But before we're talking about those steps, I think there are some prerequisites you have to establish. I think the process is that successful, or maybe we should really write an article about that. It's an interesting question. I think the prerequisite number one is, I think you have to create that transparency and set up a trusted environment with your customers. If you don't have that, forget the rest. Okay. So the other thing is you have to demonstrate your competency, that you really know your shit in and out. Everything else doesn't count. If I can't prove that I know my stuff, you will not trust me, doesn't help. Success stories may help if you have done it before. As we created the company, it was very interesting. We just sold our PowerPoint to our first Finnish customer, and he bought it. He even gave us the money. There was no single code written. He just trusted us because our performance and reliability from before, right? But that doesn't happen every time. So you have to prove. And the big companies, they go in very arrogant and say, we are the biggest ones. You're a small company. Why shall we trust you? Where's the security? Blah, blah, blah. That's a different level. Anyway, so make sure you can demonstrate your competency. I think the third prerequisite, if I look in that, is you have to share a little bit more than just what you have on your marketing and sales stack. I think you need to give deep insight about your plans, how you see the world, right? And make them part of the plan. I think that helps. So those would be the three requisites, I think, to execute then the 7-8 points of process. And I think the first one we already said is really listen to the customers, listen to them. Very, very good. The second point, I think, is ask the right verification questions that you really understand, that you understood your customer correctly. Otherwise, whatever you will then provide them as a solution will be not good enough. So then what you need to do is, I think you should reflect your solution you're offering. I'm not saying a tool, like, the story with a fool with a tool, right? So don't go there. It's a solution. And you have to reflect now, okay, here are the requirements, what the customer wants to have. Here is my solution. And just be honest and reflect that. In my career, the sales team sold something. I'm trying to go and implement that, and it just doesn't fit, right? It is, they oversold it, right? And that should not happen. That eats your credibility. Just be honest enough and say, okay, guys, maybe you should use another solution, which is a better fit to your thing. Just walk away, because, just getting the quick money is not reliable. We're on the market since 8 years, but because this is the credibility we can build up. So where are we now? 4 or 5, something like that. And make the customer, I think, part of your roadmap. Prioritize that together with you. Of course, there will be some strategic accounts for you, some tactical accounts. But my advice, and this is how we are doing it at Inspire, is we're trying to bring in those same-minded customers, who likes us, whom we like, and where is a good fit as well from a collaboration perspective and the transparency and the trust. We will go with them and say, look, guys, this is what we want to build in the next month, next year, in 2, 3, 5 years. So what of that is important for you? Do you have any ideas? So make that roadmap. That will go much, much deeper in the relationship and the DNA of the relationship. So then the next thing is prototype, test, make them part of that iteration, show them the wireframes, ping pong with them. We had fantastic sessions like where the customer in San Diego, we went there. They wanted to have something, quickly draw it on a whiteboard, ask the questions and come with that. And then one other point is implement that and give them access, make them alpha, beta tester, or whatever, give them the prod, but then get the feedback. And I think maybe that's the second point I would have, get the feedback, and see if they're happy with that. If they're happy, create a success story. It could be an anonymized one, but that is to build the trust with other prospects and customers. And the last step, I think, is iterate. You will never stop. We will continuously go with the customers and prospects being in that conversation. So go back and listen to them again, because they will mature over time. Their requirements will change. People are changing. So you will start and iterate again. So if you're ready to iterate, so there is not one goal and one end of that, to being successful and trusted advisor, whatever, and everyone is happy. It's changing. And if we look into business to business and enterprise software, I think the duration of a solution is 3 to 5 years. So you need to be in the neck of your customer, not too much, have checkpoints every 3 to 6 months, right? And then do that iteration and go through those things and see where they are.
Okay, wow. Some gold in there. And what I loved about that was, I think you can only say those things from experience. Your knowledge that's coming out of you in this session is totally experiential. And my gut tells me that somewhere along the line, there was something you did, looking back, you would have done differently. And you go, oh, okay, I guess we need to add this to the process. Oh, I guess we need to add this. So we're almost out of time, but I just want to give a reflection of what you just said, a quick summary of the 8 parts of understanding customer needs and requirements. This is just feeding it back quickly. Listen, ask questions and verify, reflect requirements with customer needs, make the customer a part of the roadmap, prototype and test, implement, get some feedback, and then iterate the crap out of that idea, and then keep doing all of that in the loop. Does that summarize it?
Sounds good. I think that sounds
Okay.
good. We should sleep on it, and maybe there's the one or the other point missing of that. But I think, the quick and dirty, I think that's the overall process.
That's great. Before we sign off, 2 things. First, I want to give a birthday shout out to your daughter. Today's her birthday.
Thanks.
Will you share her name with us, and we can say happy birthday?
It's Zehra. So she's turning 11, or she turned 11 today. So it's around 8:40 now. So I think we had a fantastic day. So wrapping up the day with her as well. So she's happy.
That's great. 11. I have a 2.5-year-old, and I could not imagine how fast it goes from 0 to 2.5. It must have gone so fast to 11. So what a special day. Thank you for taking time on her birthday to be with us. Lastly, could you just let people know again, where to find you if they want to reach out and talk to you, and just, a quick overview of what Inspi is working on right now and how people can get in touch?
Oh, that's secret what we're doing, but I think they should look out for the Gartner Symposium. It's October 16th this year, right? So we will be there in Orlando, and we have a very big thing to announce. So there will be a very big announcement we will do. I don't want to share any details, otherwise our marketing will kill me. And where to find me, just Google me. I think I'm on YouTube, I'm on LinkedIn. I don't have any other social media accounts. So I've bundled basically everything into LinkedIn. Just watch out. Feel free to connect with me. I'm looking for peers to exchange ideas. Look, the market is big enough, so we are not egocentric. We are not ego-driven. So we love that kind of conversation, and I think we are open as Inspi and anyone within the team to learn from others. So just keep up the good spirit. Just exchange. I think let's make the world a better place.
That's great. I know I'll stay close to you. I'm grateful to know you. Thank you for being a part of the summit. And with that, we're going to wind it down. So thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thanks for the invite. See you soon. Thanks, Nate. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody, we have a little treat for you. Grab your popcorn if you have it close by. we are going to be showing the return key. What is the return key, you ask? The return key is a film, that's right, a short film that we produced that highlights the human essence of actually what it means to be a human being in this world of technology. You know, a lot of times we lose sight of what that is, and we are so focused on our growth goals that we forget the things that really matter in life. And something that we deeply believe at Forrest Company is that humanity is not just a means to getting what we want or to getting people to buy things. Humanity is the point. So we wanted to make a film that we felt captured that essence, the absolute best, and it's called The Return Key. It's 5 minutes long, so don't worry. Buckle in, and like I said, grab your popcorn. We're going to play it right now.
My name is Parker, and this is the story about how I almost lost everything. I had it all. I had a house, I had a beautiful wife, I had a daughter. It actually took years of trying, but when we finally had that little girl, our whole universe lit up. I'll never forget the day before our family camping trip. It's all she talked about. Didn't have the heart to tell her I was too busy to go. My wife broke the news while I was at work, and I hated that, but we had a lot going on that quarter. We had a new CFO coming in. You get it. You know, she always used to try and race my car down the street when I'd leave for work until she was unable to keep up. And I didn't know it at the time, but that morning on that drive to work, that was when it began to happen, when I began to lose everything. See, that's the dangerous thing about work. It can be a slow death, and if you let it, it will take your minutes, your years, and even your memories right out from under you. It was the emails, the quarterly goals, the meetings and the reviews. It was the slow death of the ticking clock. I should have just ignored that stupid clock. I kept telling myself, we'll have time later, or next weekend, or next month. I don't want to ever hear myself say those words ever again. Because when that clock ticks by, it's not the minutes and the hours passing. It's the years, and the memories, and the relationships. And that day, something very strange happened. Like time itself was showing me what I was missing. With every punch of my keyboard, the clock went faster and faster. It was like I was trapped in this bad dream. Every terrible thought imaginable raced through my mind. I was just stuck watching the movie of my life and fast forward without me in it. I was so confused. This couldn't possibly be real. But it sure felt real. Scared, I raced home from work to make sure my family was okay. But they were gone. They were really gone. The house was just empty, like no one had ever even lived there. And there was a letter from my daughter. She was older and starting college. She told me how she grew up in what felt like an instant, and looking back, she realized I wasn't around to see it or really even know who she was. She said she found a way to forgive me and wished me well. It didn't make any sense. Just that morning, she was a little 7-year-old girl chasing my Jeep. How could she already be 17? What happened? I felt my insides fill up with pure panic, but there was no way I was giving up willingly. There had to be a way out of this nightmare. I needed to return. I was desperate to return. All I could possibly think to do, as silly as it sounds, is go back and hit that stupid return key one last time. Please. They were the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Can't say I'd ever said that about my office. Maybe to you it just looks like a couple people sitting around a fire in the woods, but to me, I see two glorious second chances. It's not too late.
Wow. Guys, what a day. Listen, this is wrapping up our State of ServiceNow Summit 2023. I know I've got pages of notes. I know our team I know so many of you showed up and engaged and listened and took notes as well. Guys, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. I want to give a thanks to all of our guests that were on here that spoke and that interviewed with Nate and that talked and shared their perspective. Nate, can you give us a summary? Just give us a flyover of everything that we learned, and we'll send everybody back out into their day and into the weekend. Well, it's a Thursday.
Yeah,
that's right.
Early weekend.
Feels like a Friday in my brain, but take the day off tomorrow. You've earned it.
Yeah, I'll give the summary. I'm going to check my notes because it was a long day. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming and for being here, like Brandon said. Thank you for listening to my voice all day, asking these questions and putting up with me kind of hosting everything. I really appreciate it. You guys are gracious viewers. Thank you so much. So here's what happened today. First, you heard from Brandon and I on the report. We just did a quick flyover. Hopefully that was really valuable for you. Take that to your team, take it away, share it, give all the information away to anybody who will listen to you because it's really good information. After that, we heard from Michael Nordstrom about the 5 ways partners can remain relevant in the Now ecosystem.
And people are going to have access to this later, right? We're going to make these sessions available.
Yep.
So if you guys missed something, don't worry.
Yep. They're going to be available to people. It's going to be great. You can take them away. The next session that we had was Tricia and Jim from ServiceNow about how to maximize the full potential of RISEUP. That was great. You could feel, everybody from ServiceNow, Michael and Tricia and Jim, all very warm people, very kind and
awesome
just
people.
Very, very smart and want to help the ecosystem grow. Reach out to them if you're a partner doing marketing or you need help with enablement or skilling resources. Please reach out to them. After that, we had Matt Stoyka, CEO at New Rocket, talk about the age of verticalization.
Maybe one of the smartest guys that I think I've met.
Yeah, I think just in life, you can just kind of feel the experience and the knowledge kind of just come out of him so fluidly and so easily. It's
awesome.
He's a good guy to know. And he talked about business model shifts, change management, how to verticalize, how to think about verticalization if you are a partner. He's just a good guy to know.
Lots of I feel like value bombs, nuggets, gold nuggets.
Value bombs is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
After that, we heard from Ben Person from Tenon, expanding the global enterprise with a unified marketing solution built.
And we're not biased either because we're marketing people. Like we're not like it was awesome.
Well, I mean, you heard the session. He was fantastic. Again, when you have people that have been doing this in technology for so long, the knowledge is just implicit.
Yeah.
Like it just is there. It's self-evident.
It's amazing.
No one today, I felt like, was reaching for something that they do not understand themselves or they have not walked through themselves.
Yeah.
And I was really inspired. After Ben, we had your time with Natalie.
Yep.
Which was just awesome. 3 keys.
Another genius. She's a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 keys to helping users prove ROI and become platform champions.
I felt like the dumbest person in the room all day.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk to her too, you just feel a command on the space that
just awesome
that you wouldn't otherwise. She's just so knowledgeable and also common theme, kind, humble, gracious.
Amazing people in the ServiceNow ecosystem, as you guys have seen.
And then to round it out, right before this, we had Kadir Özbayram at Inspire talk about aligning solutions with user needs, building customer trust. And I mean, beat the drum again. So knowledgeable, such an expert, so kind.
Another one of those guys that's not only super smart, just when it comes to all of this, he's one of those guys, just like I can say the same about everyone that we had on. I feel like I can hang out with him for the whole day. The whole day. Yeah. And it would be so fun.
Yeah, I had lunch with him one time in Las Vegas at Knowledge, and we both did.
Yeah.
And he
thanks for remembering. I was there.
I was so encapsulated with my conversation with Kadir because I was sitting.
We love Kadir. Yeah,
I felt like I could talk to him all day. And if you do connect with Kadir, I will tell you, I didn't say this in his session, but he has a little bit of an affection for a German sedan. So. German vehicle, I should say, because a sedan might be different. A German vehicle.
Germans are better at making a lot of things than
cars.
Yeah,
well,
than we are in America.
We're unbiased. We don't take a biased position.
Wait, we can't edit this out. It's live. No. Kadir, thank you.
Thank you, Kadir. And lastly, again, just a big thank you from Brandon and I at Forest and the rest of the team that helped us put this together. There's a bunch of people working for a couple months behind the scenes to pull all of this information together, organize these sessions, and thank you to our internal team for working so hard to make that happen. Thank you to the participants. If you're out there, please reach out. We told them when we asked them to do this that we wanted it to feel like a two-way street, not just the summit people talking at the viewers. We wanted it to feel like a dialogue. So please reach out directly. Every session you could get their contact information. And we're grateful. If you wouldn't mind just sharing with people where they could find more about us if they wanted to, please do.
You can head over to forest.co to learn more about us. If you are a partner that just needs help with any of this stuff, you are go-to-market things, offerings you need to get into market, you're not sure where to start, your pipeline is stalled out, no one's been able to actually help you hit your growth goals, just give us a call. We'd love to talk through it with you. And if you are interested at all in the 2024 State of ServiceNow report that we are getting ready to start to piece together for next year, and you would like to sponsor that or talk about being involved in any way, maybe you want to be on this summit next year. Maybe you're a ServiceNow partner and you're looking at who was on here and you're going, we should have been on that. I should have been on there with Nate. I should have been talking about what we're doing. We would absolutely love to have you on next year. Reach out to Nate and I. You can grab LinkedIn. You can hit us up there. You can go to our site, forest.co, and go to the Connect page and reach out. We would love to chat with any of you and get to know you guys.
Yep. You can find us on LinkedIn. My email is nate@forest-co.com, brandon@forest-co.com. We also have a podcast, I just remembered. It's called Humanity Sells. Find it wherever you listen to podcasts. And it's about how to sell technology, enterprise technology, by being more human. So thank you for letting us plug at the end. That was part of it. And we just thank you for being gracious throughout the day. So with all that, we're going to sign off. I'm going to get some rest. My voice is tired, but I'm full of gratitude. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everybody. This concludes the 2023 State of ServiceNow Virtual Summit. We will see you guys on the next one.
Peace.